Okay, welcome in everyone. This is our very first set review. I'm Roxas, aka Alex in Pocket, and I'm joined by none other than Mr. Charizard himself, MST. How are you?
Good to be here. Thanks for setting this up. Appreciate you reaching out and setting this up for us. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and nobody is better to discuss this new format than with you. So appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hopefully insightful. I'm sure we're going to get a lot wrong, but that's all part of talking about cards we haven't played with yet.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, we're going to have a little schedule today. After this intro here, we're going to move and talk about our our recent set, Space Time Smackdown. Just do a little
hmm
reflection on the meta and basically talk about the top 5 cards that we thought shook the game. And we'll also talk about a few other cards as well, right? We'll touch on a
Yep.
few other, cards that maybe didn't break the meta, but they definitely made their mark in the game.
hmm
So after we do that, we're going to do a McDonald's code giveaway. I've got a little code, so basically, if you haven't had a chance yet to get one of those on your account, I believe it's 24 pack hour glasses and 12 Wonder Pit glasses you get for that. So couple Triumphant light boosters, and yeah, after that, it's time for the set review. So we're going to go through every card one at a time. We're going to talk about them sort of in a vacuum. We'll also talk about the cards they go with. We'll then afterward, once we get through every card, we'll kind of talk about maybe our thoughts as a whole on what we predict going forward with Triumphant Light. So
hmm
yeah, I think on that note, we can move into our next screen
FaceTime
here.
SmackDown.
It's time for a little sunset on Space Time Smackdown here. Yeah, it was certainly a format. Loved by some, hated by others. It was pretty contentious online. That was the impression I got.
Absolutely, absolutely. People were very divided, especially at the end there. Yeah, so let's get right into it, right? So we were going to talk about the 5 cards that we each think shook, space-time meta the most, right? Let's start like with number 5. What's your number 5 space-time SmackDown most impactful card?
Yeah, so let me just get that card brought up here for us. Now, this is a card that, here we go, Pokemon Communication. So it's a trainer, an item. You choose a Pokemon in your hand and switch it with a random Pokemon in your deck. What was your first thought when you saw this card spoiled?
When I saw it spoiled, I was like, at last, right? At last, stage 2 support is coming to Pokemon Pocket, right? Like I was having a lot of fun playing Charizard and Mythical Island, but when you bricked, like when your 2 Charmeleons were at the bottom of the deck or your 2 Charizards were at the bottom of the deck, there was just no out, right? There was no hoping like that you could draw into it and any way faster or that you can reshuffle in quotation your the
Yeah.
cards or the Pokemon that you drew, right? And yeah, when the card came out, I was, as a Charizard player, I fell in love, I fell in love a second time. So it's um it's I feel like this card is going to be around for a long while, unless we get, like a rare candy, right, that kind of like does its job, but also evolves it in the same turn. Um, yeah, no, it's just a very, very impactful card, makes stage twos much more consistent. I feel like every deck that has stage twos in it kind of, um, you know, kind of, um, yeah, kind of has to run at least one copy,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I've been running at least one copy in every deck that has stage twos. So yeah, great card. Obviously, sometimes when you run two, you draw both of them in your starting hand, and
Yeah.
y- it
It's a
it
bit
is
awkward. Mm-hmm.
it's a bit awkward. Yeah, it is a -1, after the
Yes.
fact. Like
Yes.
you do lose a card, to reshuffle. So you're Like if your luck doesn't pay off, right? It kind of feels bad, but there are other cards that are minus ones like Misty, like where if it doesn't pan out for you, you lose the card. So it's not the end of the world. It definitely adds so much more consistency. So yeah, absolutely love it. Great card. And kind of like the unsung hero of Space Time SmackDown. People have been focusing a
Mm-hmm.
lot on everything else, but communication has yeah.
So I
So
think,
just yeah, go ahead.
you mentioned how it made stage two decks better. I think one thing worth mentioning is how much better it made stage one decks as well. I mean, look at the Eggs deck, which was able to Pokeball into its third basic and then shuffle that basic away, guaranteeing an Executor X from your deck.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's absurd. It's it's the kind of card where you could almost argue that deck is optimized to the brim for Pokemon communication. Even in the Charizard deck, there's times where you throw away your Charizard and you accidentally get the other one.
Yeah,
It's happened.
absolutely.
It's part of it.
Yeah.
But obviously you wouldn't not run the card because of those
Yeah,
scenarios.
situations, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely correct, right? Like, not only does it add consistency to stage twos, but even in decks that run like four basics and like two evolutions. Look at yeah, like look at Darkrai Weavile or like you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
Executor Celebi, right? When you have like just six Pokemon total, if you run communications, you're almost guaranteed to get what you want, because the options that it gives you back are so limited. And Cashew in the chat has a question, is it guaranteed that you do not draw the card you threw away? Yes. So the card you sent,
Mm-hmm.
you can't get it back, but obviously if you run a second copy of it and it's still in the deck, then you can get it back. You can get that second copy back. Right. So yeah, it's great card, It's gonna be around for a long while, I feel.
I agree. I
Absolutely.
think in terms of being around for a while, I don't think they need to creep this with. You mentioned Rare Candy earlier. Now, I have not played the original TCG myself, but I've
Mhm.
Googled that card. I've seen it mentioned before by people, and I look at that and think, wow, I don't think we need to see that card for a while. I think this will be the de facto. I could be wrong. I could be proven wrong with the next set,
Yeah,
but this will
yeah.
probably be the de facto search card for a while.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So yeah. What about number four? What's your pick for number four?
Yeah, let's get that one going. Number four, a card that I believe a lot of people have probably grown absolutely sick of here. And I don't blame them. Although it's definitely not the most oppressive card in this set. It's Darkrai X. So this is a
Mhm.
card. I'll read it out for you. Darkrai X, it's a basic. It's got 140 HP. Its ability is Nightmare Aura. So whenever you attach a dark energy from your energy zone to Darkrai, do 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Then for 2 dark energy and a colorless, it can use Dark Prism, which deals 80. So we're looking at 100 a turn when this is in the active
Mhm.
spot.
Mhm.
And it's weak to grass, and it has a 2 retreat cost. So
Right.
this card is absolutely dominated in terms of not only the number of archetypes it spawned, but the amount of kills it's gotten me over the last few months.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I mean when it came out, it felt strong from the start, right? You have to give it that. The fact that it's a basic, the probably the closest comparison we had when it came out was Greninja, but Greninja was a stage two.
Mm-hmm.
So having
Mm-hmm.
something that like starts chipping at you as soon as you generate energy, it just applies so much pressure, right? It applies so much pressure. And yeah, it goes to show you, it's it stuck around in the meta, the whole format, and it's still around in this new format. I think its strength really comes from the fact that it's a basic.
Yeah.
You can compare it, and we'll talk about it later, but you can compare it with with hold my beer said egg, yeah. You can compare it with with uh I forgot what I was gonna say. I got distracted. But yeah, no, it's it's a super, super, super strong card. Yeah.
I mean, this is a card, right, that unlike many cards in the game, is versatile at every point in the match. You know, early, late, it's going to get the job done. You know, it's a support card, it's a finisher, all rolled
Hmm.
into one. It can sit on the
Absolutely.
bench and do its work, or it can come in and thrash the opponent. We're talking about a card that is literally never dead. Do you know what I mean? It's never not going to do something in the game. Whether it's turning on
Absolutely.
Cyrus, whether it's moving into the active spot with 2 energy to get that final 100 damage. It's
Hmm.
good at any point in the game. It's really just versatility at its finest here. And you know what's interesting? I don't think 100 damage a turn is inherently broken, but
Hmm.
that's ignoring the chip damage it's doing as it builds to that
Absolutely.
point.
Absolutely. And the fact that, the damage is split between a 20 and an 80 is so huge, right? Because how many times can they Cyrus in something that's on 20 HP
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and knock it out, and then they choose another one, or you choose what you put in front, but they get to deal 80 to something else, right? So the fact that the
Exactly.
damage is split in two is absolutely like bananas, right? So that's why the Greninja deck is so strong and why it runs double Cyrus. And I just remembered what I was going to compare it to. So we're going to talk about it later, but you can compare it to Glaceon that
Mm.
also does 20 to the active. Glaceon is a stage one, right? And it has to be in the active spot,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
it's like, yes, you can compare it to Darkrai, but it's still no Darkrai. So yeah,
I have
there you
no
go.
doubt the designers wanted this card to be insane. And
Yep.
again, I'm not surprised Eggs was such a good deck in a format where most of the top decks were playing a Darkrai somewhere in them.
Yep.
Whether it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
Darkrai
Yeah.
Weavile at the beginning, then we moved on to the Darkrai Magnezone deck, and it just never seemed to end. You know, it just kept going. And
Yeah.
again, we've got a new deck people are playing now with Crobat already with this card.
Hmm.
It's a staple, plain and simple.
For sure.
If you're new to the game, two Darkrai is one of the first cards you want to be trying to acquire.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, let's move on to number three. What's your number three?
All right, so this is arguably one of the coolest cards in this set, and I don't know about you. I think this is a card that I overlooked. I overlooked when I first read the spoiler. And this card, chat, it's called Magnezone. So it's a stage 2 electric card. It's got 140 HP, Thunderblast for 1 lightning and 2 colorless energy. Deals 110. You have to discard a lightning energy when you use it. What a drawback. We'll see we'll
Hmm.
talk about why that was not a drawback shortly here.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
weak to fighting, and yeah, it's got a two. Get off my screen. I
Yeah.
know, I get it. It's got a two retreat cost, which ended up also being extremely relevant. So,
Hmm.
did you when you saw this card, did you immediately think about the Magneton synergy, or did that take you a
Oh,
second to come to mind?
absolutely not. Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, I saw the card, I saw the stats. I was like, this is like looks strong, even without generating its own energy, it looked strong. 110 is nothing to scoff at. To retreat is very acceptable. 140 HP, that's fine. I was like, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
this is like a pretty cookie cutter stage two, when it comes to a card. But then the real strength, like you said, comes from its stage one, that's self-generating, and that's just bananas. Like, like you get to have an attacker that deals 110 for basically one energy invested, one one of your own energy invested,
It's
and
absurd.
it's absurd, really. And there was nothing like this before it came out, and it just took everything. um I'm still I'm still thinking like, did the devs think about the fact that it could be used everywhere when they came up with this card? Or did they
Right.
just want to give like electric a boost, right? And then they messed up and the way they created it because it allows everybody else to use it pretty much. Yeah.
No, you have a great point there, right? This deck or this card can go in any deck.
Yep.
And now we're in a, I don't want to say it's homogenized deck building, and I think this was more content creators desperate for something new and fun to do. But by the end of the format, you were just seeing Eggs deck with Magnezone. You were seeing,
Yeah. Yeah.
what pile of good cards can I just add a Magnezone to?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a card too that I think is actually comparable to an X. I know it's a stage 2, but I'd argue this card is actually stronger than a lot of X's, the weaker side of the
Absolutely.
X's. But it only gives up
Absolutely.
one prize point when it
As
dies.
well. Yep.
And I mentioned the 2 retreat
So
costs being great, and the reason I brought that up is the most common play pattern is that when you bring this in, it's got 2 lightning energies on it. So you need
yep.
to attach a dark energy, and then you need to attach a dark energy again. When it runs out of its last lightning energy, it's got exactly 2 dark energies left on it.
That's
Ideal,
true.
right? I mean,
Perfect. Yeah, it gets so you get to retreat it out without actually
mhm.
investing more energy into it or using a leaf or an X speed. So yeah, you're right. It's just it's a super strong card. It's yeah,
I think it's
it's
the
gonna
most powerful 1-point Pokemon we have in the game right now,
I
and
agree, I agree.
it will probably be for a while.
Most
You
likely,
know,
yep.
it's yeah. You could really argue that it's more powerful than most X Pokemon, and I wouldn't really disagree with you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah. I mean, especially considering it's 1 point. I mean, let's talk about the Metal Zone deck. That was my favorite, one of my probably favorite decks from the last format. So it ran a couple Skarmories, a Heat Ran,
Mhm.
and the Magnezone line.
Yep.
Every card in
It,
that
it
deck gives up 1 point, but it has the power of a regular X deck.
absolutely, absolutely. And it was probably like the deck that I enjoyed playing the most after Charizard last format because it still had a lot of permutations. You still
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of decision making to do. It wasn't just,
Yes,
like
I agree.
place the active, place your Pokemon in the active, roll some coins and see how you do.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think we'll talk about the new Magnemite, but that's a direct upgrade to this line in that Skarmory deck. So if that deck does continue to exist, you're just going to pop the new Skarmory in because now you're going to be doing 20 with that rather than
Yep,
10. And that's perfect because really, you didn't really want to start with Magnemite in the opening
that's
slot.
true.
You wanted
That's true. Yeah.
Skarmory. So,
Yeah, it did have some type advantage both in the mirror match against Skarmory because of
mm-hmm.
the electric weakness of Skarmory, and it has a type advantage against Moltres.
Yeah,
But
Manaphy.
you're right that yeah, Manaphy too, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right that in most situations, I guess maybe the Metal Magnemite um would be better. I haven't tried it yet. It depends how the meta looks, right? It's kind of like the Dragon Gibble,
And
right? Is
that's
it better than the yeah, so we're
That's
gonna
the
talk about it
beauty.
later, but
Yeah, no, definitely. And
yeah.
that's the beauty of them printing new basics for evolutions that already exist is you can
Yep,
swap out and use different cards based on the context of the meta.
100%, yeah.
Something you should always be
So
thinking about, with all these different well, I was going to say EVs for a second, but I think there's only
yeah,
one
yeah.
really playable one of those.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's a
So
good example there where depending on how things are shaking out, you can edit your deck to attack the meta. So
yeah, yeah.
all right, I think I
So
don't have
yeah,
much more
number
to say
two.
about
We're
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We're closing in here. Number two. What do you think?
So we're actually going to discuss 2 cards at the same time here. 2 cards that I would argue are the most ubiquitous cards that they added to
Hmm.
this set. Not a single deck isn't playing one of these 2 cards. So we're going to talk about the tools.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely.
what do you I don't want to start by talking about which is better, cape or helmet. I think we should just
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
these cards in general. They enabled the Skarmory deck to flourish. They
For
enabled
sure.
the Eggs deck to flourish.
For sure.
Why would you not play these cards?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unless you're running like a super like two stage two lines, right? Or like you're like really, really short on spots. These cards, they just add so much versatility to your deck. They help with break points, both on the
Mm-hmm.
defending side and in the sense of protecting your Pokemon, against certain break points. Like if you have 140, getting to 160 is huge with Cape. But also on the offensive side, like Helmet is not only a defensive item, right? It helps you, like if you're playing Infernape, for example, Infernape Moltres, you can Helmet the Moltres and then have the attacker attack into your Moltres and be brought within Infernape range. So Helmet is
Mm.
also like an offensive item, right? It helps you with offensive breakpoints, the same way Cape helps you with defensive breakpoints, keeping your Pokemon alive. Um, so yeah, absolutely game changer, I mean, we kind of see why they didn't release them from the start, from in the first two expansions. These cards are just so powerful, right? They're understated, right? But they're just so powerful. And they completely changed up the way we play the game, right? Now
They've
we,
shaken every deck to its core in the sense that
yeah,
you, from the moment you begin building your deck, you're putting less Pokemon in.
absolutely, yep, yep,
You're saying I'm going to condense my strategy to a few powerful cards or one specific combo, Charizard being an example of that, and I'm just going to
yep.
throw these tools in to buff anything I have on the field.
Absolutely. Yeah, it allows you to go like all in on your sweeper, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
you had run cape, before you
Yeah.
only had potions and
Right.
maybe
Right.
blue, right? To protect your sweeper. But now you have cape, potion, and blue, which all stack. So it's yeah, they're just super strong cards. And you also like yeah, you have to play the game differently. Before you kind of knew what your breakpoints were, and on every Pokemon, maybe like with potion, but you knew that as long as you're hitting above a certain threshold, potion isn't going to save him, right? But now you always have to think like, does he run cape and where is he going to place the cape,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to like, let's say you're running Zip Striker or a Bencher, right? You have to make your decisions according to like where can he put the cape and is that going to change anything for me in the future, right? So that in itself is like a game changer. Yeah,
It's warps the way you interact with your opponent's Pokemon. It warps the way you think about the game. When I'm playing Limitless tournament, I'm checking my opponent's graveyard. Have they used all their tools? Is there any other
yeah,
tool I
yeah,
need to have in my mind, right? That I need to think about?
absolutely, yeah.
Um, do you think tools? Now, I want to bring up the fact that the Celebi Eggs deck that exists, those cards were available to us in Mythical Island.
Hmm.
Do you think it's the tools that push the Celebi Superior version away? Because the Snivy line just takes up so many deck slots, right? And now it's
Hmm.
like, well, what are we going to cut? Let's bring in
Right.
eggs.
Yeah.
Let's bring in the tools, which putting a cape on an eggs is really absurd. And
Yeah, it
when you
is.
consider the Ericas, the potions they have to go along with it, it's
Yeah, yeah.
ridiculous. So, do you think that might have pushed that deck out of the format with the tools?
Absolutely, absolutely. People just realized that they don't need superior, and that Celebi isn't the star of the deck.
Mm-hmm.
They just said, like, okay, let's go all in on eggs, and yeah, the cape. I mean, just like the cape on the Executor EX, sure, that's fine. I mean, it definitely helps against certain matchups, but really, the cape has been like such a big difference for execute, right? The
Yes.
fact that you can't
Mm-hmm.
kill it with Skarmory, you can't kill it with Charmander, you can't kill it with like Farfetch with Giovanni, it actually removed one of the only weaknesses that Egg had, right? It
Yeah. So
like
true.
the reason, yeah, it just removed the one weakness that Egg had. Before, if you drew a Charmander, you knew that you could get lucky and just knock out the execute before it became an executor. But now, if your opponent is running double cave, you have to play them at the full matchup, and you have to deal with executor EX, right? So yeah, I mean, total game changer for that deck. It definitely is part of the reason why it performed so well. So yeah, yeah,
So,
and yeah, like like the Cashew says in the chat, comms too. All the
yeah.
items that were added to that deck, um, you know, justified his strength there at the end.
So I'm sure we've all noticed there were no tools added to Triumphant Light, to the game through
Mhm.
Triumphant Light. I think that's a good
Yep.
thing. I think we are in danger, perhaps, of if you have too many good, versatile
Yep.
tools and
Yep.
trainers in
Yep.
a 20 card format, it's going to be we're going to get closer and closer to just wanting to run 18 trainer decks with whatever two of the best
Absolutely.
X's are. If you've got too many good
Absolutely.
tools, especially, I look at cards like Sabrina and Cyrus as an example of versatile trainers that can really make any deck or strategy better.
Yep.
When you build your deck, you have to have a really good reason to not put Cyrus in there. You
Mhm.
need to
Mhm.
be up to something really crazy and powerful to, to
Mhm.
not want that, or a Sabrina, right? One of the two.
Yep.
Because those
Yep.
are cards that are really the only way to interact with your opponent's board.
Yep.
If we get too many of those, could 18 trainer decks just be the de facto best?
I mean, we're kind of seeing the shift already, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
people have figured out that like, hey, I don't actually need to like play a million Pokemon and like swap them around. I'm just gonna like put the hardest hitter I can find and just like add sustain cards like Potion Blue Cape
Yeah, and
and to
yeah,
hell with it.
exactly.
Yeah, to hell with it.
Potion.
I don't need to play it any, like any anyhow less.
I mean, they've just given a deck that was already decent, 18 trainer Articuno. They've
Yep.
just given it its own Erica with
Hmm.
Irida. That's going to be
Yep.
disgusting. I mean, it was already
Yep.
annoying enough to chip through two of them. Now they can
Yep.
heal for 40 whenever they want. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
and I mean, if you think about it, like what can clear a caped Articuno in one? There's Charizard, and then that's it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like it's silly, right? It's silly because the cape, like there's a lot of things that deal 140. You think Gyarados, Infernape, but a caped Articuno, there's only Charizard, the hardest hitter in the game, and maybe like a Blastoise, but who plays Blastoise EX, right?
Right, right.
So like, yeah, it's just bananas, like that's why we're seeing 18 trainers flourish because the breakpoints are moved around with
Yeah.
cape and because of sustained cards. So yeah.
What do you
So yeah, let's
think?
move. Yep, go ahead.
Quick tangent. Do you think it's interesting that they haven't power crept Charizard yet? It's still one of the highest HP, if not the highest HP Pokemon, and it still has
Mhm.
the attack that does the most damage.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, as a Charizard fanboy, like I couldn't be happier. We're starting to, yeah, yeah, we're starting to see it a little bit, but so far they've only done it with like cards that aren't that great to begin with. Like they've done it with like Bastiodon, they've done it with
True.
Mamoswine. If you cape a Mamoswine, if you cape Bastiodon does it itself, but if you cape a Mamoswine, I guess Golem survives with a cape as well if it attacks, but there just hasn't been like a meta card that survives a Charizard one shot yet. So I think this is all intentional.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
I agree.
yeah, because Charizard is just the poster boy. Um, I mean, they power creep Pikachu pretty hard, so I mean, I don't rule it
Yeah.
out. Like that they're gonna do it to Charizard at some point, but definitely happy that they haven't done it yet.
All
So
right.
yeah.
Well, I think. I mean,
Mm.
we're going to come back to these tools as we talk about the new cards. I have no doubt in my mind. So we can move on here to the final card. I'm
Absolutely.
sure everyone knows what it is, and I'm sorry if anyone's PTSD is triggered when they see this artwork here.
Mine certainly is. Yes.
I mean, here it is. It's Cyrus. It's a trainer. Switch in one of your opponent's benched Pokemon that has damage on it to the active spot. Is there any card we've seen enter the game that has shaken things up more than this?
Hmm. To my knowledge, no. It definitely changed up the game completely. The game went from, like moving a lot of your Pokemon around, retreating, tanking a shot with one so that you can power up the other one on the bench and then bringing it up again, right? So a lot of back and forth. And yes, there was Sabrina, but you can always play around Sabrina, right? You can
Mm hmm.
always put a full HP Mon down as your Sabrina target, quote unquote, right? So Sabrina had counterplay, but Cyrus has no counterplay. The only counterplay is healing, right? And that's the only counterplay, right? And maybe this is why we see Irida now, and we see obviously Erica and people running potions
Yeah.
because that's the only counterplay. You have to heal your Pokemon to full, or else it's gonna get Cyrus. So yeah, super oppressive card in my opinion. It changed a lot, of the matchups just by itself. The way the matchups played out. It changed a lot of that. But I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, we just have to adapt, and yeah, we just have to adapt. I certainly started playing the game differently.
Yeah.
Before, I
Yeah.
would I would retreat a damaged Pokemon, right, to try to tank shots with a new one. But now I'm actually much more inclined to either sack the one that's damaged,
Exactly.
or
There's no reason
like
to
try.
retreat. There really
There's no
isn't.
reason to retreat. There really isn't. You want to like make sure that you have the least amount of damaged Pokemon in play. So you're more inclined to take as much damage as you can on one and maybe sack it and then try to sweep after.
I
So
think
yeah.
it's a shame, in a way, that we've taken out this bobbing and weaving with the retreating by introducing a card like Cyrus so early into the game.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
lot of skill to knowing where to put your energies throughout the whole course of the game to make sure you could retreat at the exact right
Yep.
time. And
Yep.
oftentimes, the better player won
Yep.
because they were retreating properly. I think a great example of this is the Mewtwo mirrors from Mythical Island,
Hmm.
where you did not
Absolutely.
want to be the one whose Mewtwo was getting hit by their Mew first.
Yep. Yep.
And you had to be very clever with the way you set your Pokemon up so that you were the one coming out to either kill their Mew or you were the one bringing out your Mew to kill their Mewtwo, the one that was
Yep.
charged up. We've lost that, and that's not the only example
Yep.
of being clever with your retreating and having that impact the game. I mean, like
Mhm.
you said oppressive. I completely agree. I do think it's a
Yep.
cool card. Don't get me wrong, but I do
For sure.
wonder: is it good for the health of the game? Arguably, yes. It added a new element, but it took away
Hmm.
others. You know, by
Yeah,
by introducing
absolutely.
this, we've gained something, but we've lost something.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, you're right. It just yeah, it just changed the way we play the game. The fact that you can add both Sabrina and Cyrus is once again the reason why 18 trainers are so strong, right? Because like they can get at your back line every turn of the game, right? From turn one to turn
Mm-hmm.
four, if they have two copies of Sabrina and Cyrus, they can like ignore your frontliner the whole way through, right? So yeah, that's why we've seen 18 trainers because of these strong trainer cards that give them more options to basically target whatever they want.
Do you
So yeah.
think, MST, it's a coincidence that the best deck in the format is also the one that can play around Cyrus the best? Because has
Mhm.
Erica naturally. That card
Yep.
heals your Pokemon on the bench or just heals before you retreat.
Mhm.
Is it a coincidence or no? I mean, it's literally the best counter to the arguably the best card. I would say Cyrus is probably one of the best cards, if not the best card in the game.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It definitely plays a lot into it. Not only Erica, but the double potions that
Mm-hmm.
they naturally run. Right? So they can heal like Articuno chip on the Celebi. They can heal Palkia damage on the Celebi. One potion heals the Palkia splash damage. So yeah, it's a huge reason why healing has taken so much room in the meta, and we see it with Irida now. Dex running double Erica, double Irida, double potion.
Yeah,
Like I mean,
it's
yeah, it's Cyrus is definitely part of the reason.
it's a card, and I this is again going back to the word oppressive. It's a card that you have to think about the minute you add that first card to your deck. The
Yep.
minute you
Yep.
think about your archetype, if you're brewing something new, the minute you draw your hand, every turn, every moment of the game, you have to be thinking about Cyrus. And I just
Mhm.
wonder,
Mhm.
is that fun? It's tiring. We've been playing with this
It's
card for a
tiring.
month.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was the same with Sabrina, but Sabrina, you knew you could play around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. You were always, getting ready for Sabrina, but you knew how to play around it. And Cyrus, it's just if you don't naturally run healing in your deck, there's sadly no way around it, and that's just it, right? So a lot of games come down to, who gets the first KO first, and then who has the Cyrus card in hand to finish the game, right?
How many
So
times have
it's
you
yeah,
just been sitting there in this format, just thinking, well, that's it. If they have
yeah,
Cyrus, I'm dead.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely, yeah, yeah. So too
it's
many
depressing.
times.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, but
it doesn't look like we got really a counter in this set other than Irida. I mean,
yeah,
we didn't get a card that stops your opponent from interacting with your bench. We
it's true.
didn't get a card that stops trainers. It's really still just
Oh,
Gengar X.
yeah.
It's oh, welcome
No,
in
we don't
Koosh.
have it. Yeah, yeah, it's true. We don't
It's
have a answer to Cyrus just yet. It's yeah. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how everything shapes out. Yeah.
hmm
Mm.
it's and what do you think? There was a little bit of I would say a hubbub at the beginning when people were saying, "Oh, this is Power Crep Sabrina." Well,
Yeah,
definitely not. They're two different cards,
definitely
and
not. Yeah.
one thing we need to remember is Cyrus can be a dead card. At the end of the
Yep.
day, it can just be stuck in your hand, and I guess that's a downside. I'm going to put that in quotes there because
Yep.
it's just so powerful. The upside is so much
Yeah.
stronger than the downside. You really don't care that it's occasionally dead.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And no, I mean the Cyrus Sabrina combo is like a natural combo, right? Like Sabrina helps you, if you don't play splash damage, Sabrina helps you get the damage on the backline and Cyrus is the finisher. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely they're super complementary cards. There's definitely room for both of them. Absolutely. And this is why we see trainer decks, running two versions of both. Yeah, because yeah, they complement each other perfectly. Yeah.
Exactly, and I really do think when we're talking about the 18 trainer decks,
Hmm.
they they will just get better with every release. They're not going to stop printing items and trainer
Yeah.
cards. They're
Yeah.
essential to the game.
Yeah.
And if Articuno rises to power, well, then maybe Pachirisu comes in to counter
Exactly.
it, and
Yeah.
it's. I
I
wonder.
feel like Yeah, I feel like Dina is on a tipping point right now, right? Like they
Hmm
kind of stumbled towards the edge of the cliff, right? By giving us so many items and so many trainers and having 18 trainers rise to power. And the cliff that they're going to fall off is if they enable it even more so that when ranked comes out, everybody's going to only be playing that because it's the fastest way to win and it's the most efficient way to win. And to get ranked, to,
Exactly.
to go up in rank, that's what you want. You want to play fast and you want to win fast. So that's the cliff that they're risking to fall off of, where they basically like shot their game in the foot by, like making 18 trainers too strong, and that's all everybody is gonna play. So we'll see, we'll see.
Cashew said he thinks Grandma, or they think, excuse me, Grandma already made it better. I would argue you won't play that card in the 18 trainer decks because once your first X dies, they already have 2 points, and if you don't
Mhm.
have the other one out, you're not,
Yeah,
you're dead. So you really,
yeah, yeah,
if bringing the other one back isn't going to do much unless you can
yeah,
retreat the other, but then that's a lot of energy
yeah.
investment and time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I guess yeah, I guess you can retreat it. If you have a third, yeah, a third basic,
yeah,
right, that you get
yeah.
back with grandma, you retreat the second one, but once again, Cyrus acts as the
Cyrus,
finisher in that
exactly.
situation, yeah.
I mean, it's a Cyrus
Um,
world. We're just living in
it's
it.
a Cyrus world. Yeah, yeah.
And
So yeah, with that being said, maybe we
uh,
should we jump into the new format or
do you
you had
want
to, sorry.
to, do you want to maybe just discuss Space Time Smackdown in general here? I mean, what are your big takeaways from the meta? What do you think we want to see from the next set as well to counter some of the strategies like eggs and Darkrai?
Um, yeah. So I mean, I was hoping for either, like some anti-trainer support
Hmm
that we didn't get. and I was hoping for, a real like a straightforward answer to Executor, like really straightforward. And in the sense of like, but I don't think we got that, right?
No,
Yes,
no.
there's the fire heat rand that, if it takes 40 or 80, it hits back for 100, with weakness on Executor. But outside of that, I don't think there's an answer yet. People, like, if you look at the tournament list right now, people are playing Leafeon because it's new. But I think they're gonna go back to Eggy pretty quickly here.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And I was also hoping for, I mean, depends what type of deck you were playing. I play a lot of fire, so I was hoping for like a strong fire basic, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could be like the Sabrina fodder, like the fifth basic that's a Sabrina fodder in the Charizard deck. I don't think like we got that either.
I think what
There's
fire
fire. Yeah.
needs and is another angle. Right now,
Yep.
every fire
Yep.
deck is I'm going to put out my Moltres and I'm going to charge my Charizard or I'm going to charge
Yep.
my Infernape. And
Yep.
if they need a basic X, in my
Yep.
opinion, a decent
Yep.
basic X that can change the way we build fire decks. They're very, very homogenized toward Moltres at the moment. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
that really is it. It's the most
That's
powerful
it.
thing to do.
Yep. Yep.
And
And
yeah, yeah. I think a
yeah, so
fighting X could be a fighting. I think needed a basic X too. That deck has always felt a little just a touch behind. I mean, they've got Hitmonchan, they play Farfetch, but they've got
yep.
Lucario, but it still doesn't feel fast enough to me. You
It's
know?
true, it's true. Yeah, and for fire, Cashew is mentioning the new heat run. The only issue I have with it is that if you have to run Arceus or else you can't retreat it. It still has 3 retreat costs without Arceus. So if you add it to the Charizard Moltres, you start with it and there's no way to get it out of the active outside of, both a leaf plus an X speed.
Yeah, right,
So
right.
yeah, yeah. It's cool in the Arceus decks, but yeah, it's just not the answer we were hoping for. So yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's about it. We'll see how it shapes out. I don't think we got the answers. I guess Irida is a good answer to Cyrus in water decks or people that run water energy, but I don't think we actually got an answer to Executor.
No.
Um, yeah, they needed to make Infernape better somehow. Um, right, for both to counter both Executor and Leafeon. But I'm not sure. We'll have to see. We'll have
Oh,
to
you
see.
know what? We did forget. There's a few more cards that we should talk about here. Now, these are cards that, like I said before, they didn't break the meta. They didn't destroy the meta, but they had a place in the meta, you
hmm
know? And I think they'll have a place going forward, most likely. So
hmm
let's touch on those really quick. We'll start with this one here Dawn.
Yep.
So Dawn's a trainer that you move an energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. So, I mean, I don't know about you, when this was first spoiled, my immediate thought was, oh, Darkrai Weavile.
hmm
Fantastic. You know, I can move my energy to my Weavile on the first turn and start
hmm
attacking for 70. But
Right.
I think Dialga's used this card the best. Moving that energy that you charge to your Dialga so you can start hitting for 100 straight away.
Right. Yep. Um, I mean, I love the concept. I've always loved the Dawn concept. It does help speed up a lot of decks. Um, but I mean, yeah, since it's not actual energy generation, it's only energy transfer,
Mm hmm.
right? It
Mm hmm.
yeah, it's like a in the middle in terms of power, I feel. I do love playing it. I feel like that's the type of card you want to see come out.
Yes, exactly.
It promotes like, like interactive gameplay, it promotes smart retreating and
It doesn't
the
just go
way
into
you
every deck either, right? It's
exactly
not Sabrina
absolutely.
or
Yep.
Cyrus.
Yeah.
It's a card that you essentially build your deck to take advantage of, and because you do, you're rewarded.
Yep. So yeah, no, it's definitely the type of card that I want to see more of. I think that's what you want to see in a game where you want it to know to be interactive and you want it to reward the player who plays better. So yeah,
Yeah.
excited to see more of it, hopefully.
All right, here's another one we'll touch on. We all thought this would be our savior for Darkrai. It turned
hmm
out maybe not so much. Why do you think that was?
hmm For I can't see it. Is it Shaman
Oh, sorry. You know what?
or
Let me read it out. It's Yamega
Yep.
X, so it's
Okay,
HP
right.
140. It's got a 3 colorless attack, Air Slash, that deals 120. You have to discard a random energy from it, and it's weak to
hmm
lightning. 1 retreat
Yeah.
cost as well.
I mean, the devs definitely intended it to be the counter to Darkrai. But I mean, Cape just
Yeah.
changes the whole deal. And I mean, like yes, on paper it's really strong against Darkrai, but the fact that Magnezone is in the same deck and that Mega has electric weakness, right? And that you can also cape. I mean, Magnezone doesn't die to a single Mega shock because it doesn't have the grass weakness. So yeah, in the end, it ended up being like a non-factor, I feel,
Yeah.
in against Darkrai,
You've
just
made a
the way
great
that.
you've made a great point there, and it was that the Darkrai Magnezone deck could attack from multiple angles because it
Yep,
spread its weaknesses
yep,
across multiple types rather than including
absolutely.
one type of Pokemon. And again, Charizard does this as well, with Moltres being weak to lightning, Charizard being weak to water.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal having different weakness types in your deck. Absolutely.
Okay. The next card that definitely made a splash was Palkia X. So
Yeah.
150 HP. You have a 1 blue energy attack, slash for 30. Then you've got Dimensional Storm, 3
hmm
water energies and a colorless to deal 150. With a caveat, you have to discard 3 water energy from Palkia, but it
hmm
also does 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it's got a
hmm
2 retreat cost, and yeah, of course, it's weak to lightning. So,
Right.
I mean, this is a card that, funnily enough, just like Gyarados, people were like initially like, it doesn't seem great. I saw it and I said, oh wow, a Gyarados that can deal 30 a turn. That's pretty amazing, you know? But obviously Misty
So
is really what makes this card good, isn't it? And Manaphy. Misty and Manaphy.
absolutely, yeah. So it looks really strong on paper, but I think when you play it, you see how taxing the three energy discard is
Mm-hmm.
for Dimensional Storm. And yeah, like outside of the big, like the 18 head roll Misty, um, you have a hard time attacking twice with it. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely a strength comes from being a basic once again and having this option to hit for 150 if you like transfer energy on it with Vaporeon or if you get a big Misty flip. And we did see some Palkia lists get far in tournaments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I, just the banking on the Misty. So yeah, it's a strong card. I feel like it's stronger than Dialga for sure. If I had to pick one of the two
I'd agree with you.
cards,
Yeah.
yeah, I think Palkia is stronger than Dialga. We've established that by now. But yeah, no, it's I mean, I still enjoy playing against it, even though it gets even though the occasional Misty, because I feel it's beatable. It's not something that's too crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. It's definitely when you see that card come down, you don't even when they have a Manaphy. I don't
hmm
think I'm trembling. I'm thinking, oh, let
Yeah,
me just get my Magnezone online and let's see, let's go from there. You know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
there's one more card I want to talk about from Space Time before we move on to our next set, and it's Team Galactic Grunt. So this is a
mhm,
trainer. Put one random Glameow, Stunky, or Krogunk from your deck into your hand. So when I saw
mhm,
this, I thought, well, that's terrible. I looked at those cards and I thought, who's ever going to want to do that? Well, late into the format, a very nasty combo was discovered, and that is to run a 4 basic deck where you play 2 Glameow and 2 of your basic you really need, and you can use Team Galactic Grunt to guarantee Pokeball is pulling your basic Pokemon you need out of your deck. So how that
Mm-hmm.
works is you draw you Galactic Grunt to draw the second Glameow, and now your Pokeball is going to get that card no matter what.
Right.
Is it just
So
too cute for you? I mean, you know what I mean by that. It is a lot of card slots to dedicate to something that
yeah,
isn't that
yeah, I think
powerful.
it's, like you said, yeah, I think the description would be cute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it works in some decks, like with Garchomp and a lot of decks where you want to really like thin your deck really quickly. Um, I think what's more important is the precedent that it sets, in the sense that it is the first card outside of Pokeball that targets,
Yeah. Yeah.
3 Pokemon to draw. So this sets a precedent because they could reprint this with, other cards. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I like the concept. I think it's really strong, and they specifically targeted Glameow, Skunky, and Krogunk um, with it. I mean, maybe there's something to do with the new Krogunk as well, right? They
Yeah.
could reprint the
Mm-hmm.
Glameow or Skunky as well. So this card might have, use even further down the road.
100%. It's
But
a
yeah,
card that we should, every time a new set comes out that features one of these cards, we should
hmm
always be looking back at this and saying,
absolutely.
are we missing something here?
Hmm.
Is there a new combo that could
That's right.
break the game? What you said is perfect, in my opinion, about it being a unique draw effect that targets cards. I love the precedent it sets, and while this wasn't really, to be honest with you, compared to Palkia, Dawn, and the other cards we've briefly gone over here at the end, it's nowhere near as good. But it's
Yep.
so worth talking about from a card design perspective. It
Hmm.
really opens doors and
Yep.
forces us to maybe think about the way we build decks a little bit differently.
Absolutely. Yeah. And okay, perfect. I think we are, do we have one more, or
That's
are we
it.
good for
Yeah.
perfect? Let me just
So,
answer really quick Cashu's question.
okay.
Do I still consider Palkia better than Dialga? Um, I mean, hard to say. I haven't played the Dialga Arceus combo just yet. So I'm gonna have to get on that. Um, but definitely last format, I think Palkia was stronger. I have to play the new combos just to figure it out. I can't really take a position on it yet, but I'll let you know as soon as I get an idea. Yeah.
I do think theoretically Dialga's gotten more of a boost from this set. I'm not
Hmm.
saying the Palkia deck won't love Irida, but Irida, I don't think necessarily makes that deck. It's not. It's a card they'll play, but I think it's going to be better in other decks than the
Hmm.
Palkia deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Okay. Well, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Triumphant Light. So, we've had a chance to play for a day now. Do you have any initial thoughts?
Um, I mean, yeah, so far, I've been enjoying, playing against the new cards. I feel like, the new cards they're fairly well designed. Um, nothing feels oppressive, right, from the start, the way Cyrus did. Everything feels beatable. We'll get to it later. There are things that feel, um, a bit stronger than others, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll
Mm-hmm.
get to it at the end. But yeah, so far I've been enjoying it a lot. Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it then. So here's our first card. So I'll read out the grass types for us. Then when we get
Mhm.
to the next
Perfect.
type, you can do those. So
Excellent.
card number one, Heracross. It's a basic with 100 HP for a grass and two colorless, single horn throw. So this deals 50. However, you flip two coins. If both are heads, it does 70 more damage. Interesting. So it could do
Hmm.
120. It's a fire
Yep.
and it's weak to fire and it has a two colorless retreat cost. So,
Yep.
what do you think?
Uh, I mean, once again, the strength comes from being a basic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to compare it to things like Tower Rose, uh, stuff like that. Um, it's kind of a basic, not the Krabby, but what's the Kingler,
Oh,
right?
the
It's kind of
KO.
like a basic Kingler.
Yes, the
The
KO
KO
crab.
crab, yeah.
Yes.
So Kingler does 80, and if you roll two heads, you get another 80. And this one is 50, and if you roll two heads, you get another 70. Uh, so that makes sense, right? It's like it's a basic, so you run only one card, so there's that, and the damage is a little bit less than Kingler. It's cool. I mean, I don't think it's gonna see a lot of play, but it's not the worst card ever. Maybe with Leafeon, you can speed it up a little bit.
Yeah. There's
But
Barry.
yeah, don't
So
have.
we'll talk about Barry later, but Cashew's mentioning it's insane
Mhm.
if you have a specific card in hand. I'm sure
Oh, right,
they're
Barry.
talking
Yeah,
about
so we'll get.
Barry. Barry
Yeah,
lets
yeah,
this
we'll get to
swing
Barry.
for one grass, I believe. I think it reduces the attack cost
Oh,
by two colorless. Now,
two
is that
colorless.
yeah?
Okay.
Oh, it might be one.
Let me check
Yeah,
it real quick, just so we can talk about it. So during this turn, attacks used by your Snorlax Heracross cost two less. Yes, so only this
yeah,
turn. That's crazy actually. A basic that could deal 120 with one damage, but it is only a 25% chance.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
you are gambling a little bit,
I
yeah.
mean, you're basically, if you're running that, you're basically saying, I want to attack with this on my first turn and kill your
Mhm.
basic, and I hope it's the only basic you have so I can win the game off you having no bench Pokemon. That's sort of
Absolutely,
the
absolutely.
shout there. You know,
Yeah,
if it's only
yeah. And
50, it still
50
gets rid
is.
of a lot turn one. That is an interesting
Mhm.
comment, definitely. Yeah, I mean, with a Geo, well, you can't Barry Geo in the same turn, can you? But
No, you can't, yeah, but
I'm
you're
just going to
right.
put a hoodie on real quick. Sorry.
Perfect, go ahead. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely overlooked the Barry combo for Heracross. 50 is such a clutch break point in terms of damage. Obviously, people that run cards that have 50 HP, like Execute, they usually don't run double cape as well.
Hmm.
So you might not be getting as lucky, but yeah, no, definitely a combo there. I mean, I'll once I get two Barrys and two Heracross, I'll try it for sure. Seems like a fun deck to play
Yeah, and
in
there's
between games.
there's
Yeah.
a couple other cards Barry interacts with. We'll touch on them again. Yeah,
Mhm.
when we get to Barry, we can talk about these cards again within the context of they were built for Barry. That's the
Mhm.
that's the impression I'm getting, and I think that makes them a little bit weaker, right? Because you
Right.
have to
Yep.
play this support card to get the most out of them.
Mhm.
All right.
Perfect.
Great. Okay. Actually, that sparked a lot of discussion. I think that's really cool, and I love cards like that.
Cool. Yeah.
They add a little something to the game, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Card number two. It's basic Burmy. Got 50 HP, and it's got one move, Ram, for a grass energy for 20. It's weak to fire and has one retreat cost. I
Mhm.
mean, this is your bread and butter basic, isn't it? This is basically, we see this
Pretty
stat
much.
line
Yeah.
very often 50 HP or 60 with a 20
Mhm.
damage attack.
Yep. Pretty standard. It dies to Charmander, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a bit weaker than the mythical sorry, the space time smackdown Burmy, right? Because the other one has 60 HP instead of
Mm-hmm.
50. And yes, it deals 10 for colorless instead of 20 for grass. But you always want to run 60 HPs in any format. 50 is too much of a clutch break point. You need 60. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
I
not
agree.
I don't think it's gonna take over the old Burmy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So speaking of Burmy, and
Mhm.
it'll be good to talk about, whenever we talk about a basic, it'll be good to talk about it as well, its context with its
For
evolution,
sure.
right? So here's
Mhm.
Mothim. This is a stage
Mhm.
one, 90 HP, two colorless, interesting.
Mhm.
You can gust for 50. Now it's
But no
weak to
retreat.
electric,
Yeah.
and this is very
Mhm.
interesting, no retreat cost on this one.
Yeah, I actually overlooked the retreat cost, but it does make it interesting. Yeah, the HP and the damage. is all right. Two colorless is pretty big. I guess you'd want to run it with a colorless Burmy instead of the grass Burmy.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah,
I'm
that's
bringing
cool. I mean,
I'm bringing Burmy up on stream, so what I'll try to do is whenever we're talking about an evolution, I've moved Burmy now to the right, just so we can kind of see them together.
mhm, mhm.
So yeah, I
Yep,
agree with you. Not this seems more built to go with the previous Burmy, where you
absolutely.
are,
Yeah.
you've got the colorless like you said, and you're evolving into this. Now I don't know if 50 is a good enough rate for a 90 HP Pokemon. This is gonna get
No,
this
yeah,
is gonna get razzed by a lot of cards, you know.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So now I do love, and I think this is cool, a card where its base is weak to fire, its evolution is weak to
Hmm.
lightning. So there is a little bit of
Hmm.
something there in terms of, being able to kind of get around what they might be doing. So,
For sure, for sure.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, it's interesting. I definitely feel like it's not the worst card. It could see play, but I don't think it's gonna be meta defining just because the damage is a little bit low. But yeah, cool card.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. Okay. Next up, Combi. This is our second
Mhm.
Combi. So it's a basic with 50 HP, weak to fire, one retreat cost, and this one has Bug Bite. For green, you can do green. I'm talking like a Magic player. For
Yeah,
for
yeah,
one
yeah.
grass energy, you can do 20 damage.
Right.
I don't think
Um,
this is that good compared to the old Combi had such an interesting and unique attack by being able to
mhm,
pull
mhm.
out a
Ab-
grass, Pokemon from your deck.
Yep, yep. Yeah, absolutely. The stats, like, yes, it has the same HP as the other combi, same retreat cost and same weakness, but the call for family ability that the other combi has is actually much more useful than dealing 20. Um, so yeah, once again, I mean, it's cool. And even the call for family, it was colorless, and this one
Yeah.
is grass.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I definitely like the old Combi. I think if you want to try playing Combi, you should probably opt for the other one.
Yeah. The other one, much more unique and
Hmm.
likely if you're searching up a grass type, you're playing some kind of deck that's taking
Yep,
advantage of that effect. This isn't really
yep,
adding
yep.
anything to that deck, is it? So,
It's yeah, for sure.
okay. However, it has an evolution,
Hmm.
Vespiquen. Now, this
Hmm.
is a pretty juicy card in terms of the amount of damage it can do. So it's a stage 1, evolving from Combi, 100
Hmm.
HP, for 3 grass, reckless charge, 120 damage. It does 30 to itself. It's weak to fire and it has a 2 retreat cost. It's not,
Hmm.
again, it's pretty weak at 100 HP, but 120 damage is nothing to scoff at.
Absolutely not, yeah. And the three energy, you can actually overlook that if you combine it with Leafeon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can get it online, on the bench much quicker um, than before. It is a stage one instead of a stage two, so
Yeah.
it's pretty strong.
Uh-huh.
To retreat feels like a lot, but I think the real issue is its HP at 100
Yeah.
and it deals 30 to itself. So basically, without a cape, you go down to 70,
Ooh,
and with a
yeah.
cape, you go down to 90, which,
Yeah.
like, there's not a lot of things that live if you with that much HP in this meta. So it feels like a huge energy investment just to lose it the next turn, even though you deal big damage.
You kill a Weavile, you kill a Darkrai outright.
True.
You, I think I'm going to give a little comparison to Magnezone here. This does 10 more damage. It doesn't lose energy, but that 140 on HP on Magnezone just really helps. I think if this had
Hmm. Yep.
120 HP even 110, so it can survive a Darkrai energy attachment plus a 80 damage
Yep.
Dark
Yep.
Prism with a cape.
For
Now,
sure.
obviously, the
Yeah.
caveat's the cape, but still, you're going to be playing that. So, you know.
Yep.
But no, it's a lot of damage on a grass type.
Hmm.
And, compare it to Leafeon that does 70. It's, Yeah, I wonder. Unfortunately, it's not colorless. If it was, we
Yeah,
could be talking about it in the same vein as Magnezone. But
yeah,
yeah, it's not the
yeah,
worst
for
card
sure.
though.
Or Yanmega, it would be like a comparison. Yeah, it's not the
Hmm.
worst. Definitely not. Mm, So we can, yeah, let's see what's next.
Okay. Definitely a cute one here. We've got
Hmm.
Cherubi or Cherubi, 50 HP, Leafage for, for, for one grass, do 20 damage. Again, I brought it up before. This is your bread and butter basic, 50 HP,
Yep,
20 damage
yep.
attack. It's weak to fire and has 1 retreat cost. So I don't think we need to say
Hmm.
too much
Hmm.
about this. We can probably just move on to its evolutions
Absolutely. Yep.
and talk about those. Like I said, it's your bread and butter. We've already kind of talked about how you need a cape
Yep.
to really take advantage of this. So here's its first evolution, Cherim. So it's a
Hmm.
stage 1. It has 80 HP, and for 1 grass, you can do Worry Seed, 40 damage, and your opponent's
Hmm.
active Pokemon is now confused. I think confusion is one of the better status effects in this game.
For sure. For sure. And yeah, honestly, like a pretty strong stage one here, considering it's a stage two line, right? Like you'd look at this and you'd think like this is the end evolution, right? Because 80 for 40 with an effect and one retreat is actually pretty decent. Like if you compare it to like a mythical island primate, for example, that's
Yeah,
80 for
yeah.
50 and no effect, right? And this one actually applies an effect. So, and it's a stage two line, right? So honestly, like, yeah,
It's
surprisingly
also
good stage one. Yeah.
it's also, and I think in the context of these grass cards, they are the thorn in one of the best card in the game side, Darkrai.
Right. Yep. Yep.
You know, when they're starting with a Darkrai in the active spot, which happens a
Hmm.
lot, it's not ideal, is it? And when you're chiseling away with grass types, it can be
Yep.
problematic for your opponent.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting card, definitely. I think any card with confusion
Mhm.
on it needs to have a second glance. It's a really, really powerful effect. It doesn't,
Yep.
you don't get to flip a coin to remove it. You have to retreat. And flipping tails when you're confused. Oh, what a feel bad moment.
Yeah. a hundred
It's
percent.
horrible. In a,
Yeah.
in a game, oh,
Yeah. Go
sorry,
ahead.
go
Sorry.
ahead. Okay, I was going to
Oh,
say,
so,
in a game like
yep.
Pocket, right, where every turn is absolutely crucial, the game is very tempo based. There's a lot less to do with card advantage because unlike a game like Magic, where you want to flood the battlefield with, you want to draw loads of creatures, put them out, and attack with all of them. You don't have that
Hmm.
opportunity in Pokemon.
Hmm.
You're really only
Yep.
using your active spot Pokemon and trainers. You can't just rattle off 3 trainers in a turn. You can't Professor's Oak into Sabrina, Cyrus, and another Oak and just go crazy. You're
Hmm.
stuck with
Hmm.
just playing one a turn. The tempo
Yep. Yep.
confusion can win you the game. One tails flip can win you the game.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's check out it's stage two, see what the end evolution it looked like.
Okay. So, actually, oh, okay. It is actually not a stage 2. It's another stage 1.
Oh,
So
and
Cherubi has 2 evolutions.
okay.
Yeah,
I
okay,
see.
interesting.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, I didn't actually notice that. Yeah.
So
So it makes
Cherim,
sense why the other one is strong as it is, yeah.
yeah, definitely. So here's
Hmm.
Cherim, another evolution for Cherubi. 80 HP, and you can Leech Seed 2 grass energy for 60 damage, and it heals
Hmm.
20. Hey, it's interesting.
Hmm.
Is that enough
Yep.
damage to
And
excite you?
not really,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean it's decent, right? I guess a comparison would be like Golduck or Sandslash,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 70.
70, yeah, Golduck deals 70 for like 90 HP one retreat. Charm is 80 HP, 60, and that heals 20. So, honestly, yeah, it feels like a genetic Apex power level
Mm-hmm.
card. but we're no longer in Genetic Apex, right? We're all the way in Triumphant Light,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think yeah, it just needed either more damage, a better effect, or just more HP. I think the other Cherrim is definitely much more playable.
I think more HP would have been great for this. I do like that Leech
Absolutely,
Seed
yeah.
is like a built-in counter to Darkrai's chip damage, but
Mhm.
is that enough? No, I really don't think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right, this next card is definitely going to spark some discussion. It's an
Mhm.
absolutely brilliant card, in my opinion. It's
Yep.
Carnivine. So, this is a
Mhm.
basic. It's got 80 HP. Its ability is Power Link. We're going to see this come up a few times in the set review. And
Mhm.
essentially, you need to have an Arceus or an Arceus X in play. And when you do, that card will get some sort of benefit, right? In this case, for
Right. Yep.
Carnivine, it's going to do 30 more damage. So its attack is Vine Whip. For one grass energy, you can do 20. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
oh, and it's weak to fire, obviously, and it has only one retreat cost. So
Yep.
I think the first card that comes to mind for a lot of people when they see Carnivine is Skarmory. They're both cards that can
Mhm.
start dealing 50 on turn one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now,
So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say some some advantages Skarmory has is it doesn't need to run Arceus. It can run tools,
Mhm.
which are a lot more ubiquitous. However, this does synergize with Erica. You can't heal
Mhm.
Skarmory with Erica.
That's true.
This
Yep.
also, when it's doing 50, it's two-shotting a Darkrai. That's pretty good.
Mhm. Yep. Uh, Honestly, like it's a super exciting card. I'm excited to play it. It does feel like a strictly better Skarmory because
Mm-hmm.
as long as you're running Arceus, right, which kind of replaces the Heatran role in the Skarmory Heatran Magnezone,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
don't need tools. You don't need to draw your tools with this, right? So this frees up some slots in the deck. The fact that it's weak to fire is actually a really big deal because there's not a lot of fire aggro decks anymore.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like a
Great
weakness
point.
that doesn't come into play.
Great
Yeah,
point.
like Moltres, like sure, like Moltres can slap it, but even if you put on a cape on it, it can survive both Moltres and it can survive Pachirisu. And Skarmory could not
Yeah.
survive Pachirisu even with the cape. So this is a huge deal. Uh, yeah, I'm super excited to play it. I haven't pulled it yet, but as soon as I get it, I'm definitely building a Carnivine Arceus Magnezone deck, and just to replicate what Skarmory Heatran did last
Yeah.
format, but maybe even better.
I mean,
So yeah, super excited for that.
in terms of the tools with Skarmory, you can't, you don't have a card in your deck other than Professor's Research that's finding those
Yep.
tools for you. So when you miss,
Hmm.
it feels pretty bad. This has Pokeball to find
Hmm.
the
Yeah, it
the
has Pokeball
Arceus,
to
yeah.
get the Arceus. Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a card that's gonna see play. It's aggressive,
Absolutely.
it's
Yep.
strong, it two shots Darkrai, and I mean, yeah, 50 damage on a turn
Yep.
one attack. It's fantastic. I mean, I did pull this card and I did build the deck
Hmm.
and I ran two
Hmm.
Geo, and it felt
Hmm.
disgusting because
Hmm.
one, this lets you hit 60 HP basics with Geo, and another thing,
Hmm.
a fully benched Arceus is doing 130. Geo allows that to do 140, which knocks out their Arceus.
Right. Yeah.
So
No, it's a huge deal. Yeah. I'm excited to play it, honestly. Yeah.
again, it gives up 1 point. Really, really nice to have such a powerful card that, is only giving your opponent one prize point.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Great card. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen Carnivine, Arceus, Magnezone decks yet.
Hmm.
But yeah, maybe it's gonna come up a bit later. Maybe I'm missing something and I think it's really good. And once I try it, I'll be disappointed. We'll have to see. But yeah.
I suppose the difference is it doesn't feel great to have to put Arceus X into your active slot. And
Yeah, for
you're not going
sure.
to run Leaf in this deck because,
Yeah,
this only has one retreat cost, just like Skarmory decks.
yeah,
The Metal Zone deck didn't run Leaf, did it?
yeah,
You didn't need
yeah.
it. So that
Well,
is one
I think
downside.
yeah, I think the Metal Zone decks just didn't have room for retreat cards, right? It's not
Hmm.
like they didn't want retreat cards, even starting with Magnemite in the active, it feels terrible, right?
Yeah,
But I
true.
think because of Skarmory, they needed 4 items, and you needed the double Sabrina Cyrus
Yeah.
to play aggro. So I think they just didn't have the room for X
Yep.
speed or Leaf. But I feel like now with Carnivine, since you don't actually need 4 tools, you might only be playing Capes, for example. You could actually run 1 or 2 Leaves to get the Arceus out and get the Magnemite out, and always have the Carnivine in the active. So. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. It
I
does free up a few slots, so
I
maybe one
like
or
your
two Leafs
shout.
isn't. Yeah.
I like your shout to play it
Yep.
with Magnezone. I ran this in the Cup, I think it was the Manalo Conference yesterday, and I ran it with Leafeon.
hmm
But I think
hmm
Magnezone's probably just better, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it only needs 1 energy, right? So it's not like it. You can this turn you put it in the active, same as Skarmory, you can attack with it. So yeah, maybe just grass energy in the deck, Carnivine, Arceus, Magnezone.
Yeah, I'm liking the
I see
sound
the
of that.
vision. I see the
Yeah,
vision. Yeah,
I think it's
we'll see.
sounding
We'll
like an
see.
upgrade, I'm not going to lie, because you are better positioned
For
against the
sure.
meta by having a grass type
Yep.
against dark. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep.
wow, that's a great
And
shout.
yeah. And Arceus is, I mean, it deals more damage than Heatran. It
Yeah.
tanks more
Mm-hmm.
damage,
Mm-hmm.
and you can actually retreat it, right? So it's much more versatile.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, nothing worse
so
than having
yeah,
Heat Ran in the active spot turn one, is it?
absolutely.
As your only
Yeah, yeah,
basic, you're just like, oh, here we go, you know.
exactly. Yeah.
Here's a free point.
So yep,
Like,
yep, yep. So I'm excited to try it. And since you're running 6 basics in that list, including, the Magnezone lines, 2 Carnivine, 2 Arceus, you're probably gonna have a full bench for your
yeah,
Arceus attack. So 130 is like nothing to scoff at for sure.
yeah. You usually had a full bench in the Metal Zone deck, so yeah,
That's
makes
true.
complete
Yeah, yeah,
sense. Yeah, I that's a great shout. I also think this card could spawn its own aggro archetypes beyond Magnezone as
for
well.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
It's I think it's a card that, as they print more aggressive grass cards, is just going to get better over time.
Yep, yep,
So,
100%.
wow, yeah, a lot. That was a lot to talk about with this one. I mean, it really is
hmm
an
Yeah,
interesting card. Okay,
absolutely.
speaking of interesting cards, woo, we have a juicy one here. Our first X we're going to talk about today.
hmm
So it's Leafeon X. It evolves from Eevee, obviously. It's got 140 HP. Its ability is Forest Breath. So once during your turn, if Leafeon's in the active spot, you can take a grass energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your grass Pokemon. And
hmm
its attack is Solar Beam. For 1 grass and 2 colorless, deals 70. 1 retreat cost, and
hmm
it's weak to fire. Wow.
Yep.
What a card.
Right? Yeah. I
It's
mean,
ridiculous.
yeah, I mean, I saw it and like without actually, like talking about its power level yet, because I feel like it's still early. So we don't really have the full idea yet, but I think the design is really cool.
Hmm.
Because right, uh the attack only needing 1 grass means that you can attack it into any colorless type. And outside of Manaphy, it's the second only energy generation card for colorless types,
Yeah.
right? You have Manaphy, and now you have this, and it can generate energy for colorless EXs or colorless cards, right? So yeah, absolutely a great card. The stats are strong, the attack is strong because in theory, right, it's the same as having 2 energies for 70 because of its ability, and 1 retreat, super strong. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
got a
no, I think
built-in
it's
X speed, right? Because if this,
absolute.
you
Yeah,
just attach the first energy to it and you can retreat right away, and then you've still got your energy in your active zone that you can put wherever you want.
100%, and that's crazy, right? So the one retreat is like basically a zero retreat as well.
I
No,
think this card
absolutely
will be
great card.
everywhere. I think it'll be everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I last night
It
I
does.
played. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It is a bit less. It generates less pressure than Executor EX because
Hmm.
it doesn't attack on turn one, right? The turn you
Yes.
evolve it, you can't attack with it. So that's kind of a big deal. If you're running like Leafeon Celebi and like double Sabrina, right? Being able to apply pressure on the bench with Sabrina on turn one is kind of like the big deal in Executor
Yeah.
EX.
a
And
hundred
this one is a
percent.
bit slower. It's a bit slower. It gives your opponent more time to set up, but it does have a higher ceiling in the sense that the longer you keep it in the active, the more energy, the more free energy you get out of it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of just, yeah, it's like less aggro than Executor EX, but it has this higher ceiling in the sense that it can do more for you over several turns.
Totally agree. And one thing that I think is interesting. So I built an all water deck last night. That was kind of the eggs deck with Eevee and Leafeon instead of execute and executor. It only ran
Mhm,
water energy. When you So one reason Celebi was so dirty in the Mythical Island meta was superior. It basically made
mhm,
one energy two. With this
mhm.
card, you can attach two energy per turn to Celebi. I easily won a lot of games where I'm attacking with Leafeon. Meanwhile, every turn, I'm putting two energy on my Celebi. Go ahead, kill my
Right.
Leafeon. It's about to come in with 9 coins on it.
Mhm,
Nine,
mhm.
nine, 9 coins. 9 energy, 9 flips. I mean, I think is is that synergy better than eggs? I'm not quite sure yet, but it felt really,
Mhm.
really strong to be able to put two energy per turn on Celebi rather than just dropping your one on there each turn.
Right.
By the time they kill eggs, it's usually coming out with four, probably four energy, maybe three on it. Now
Right.
you're coming out with six, seven. I mean, you're just gonna one shot most things at that point if you're
Yep.
lucky,
Absolutely.
if you
Yep.
flip
Yep.
heads. But
Hut- hut-
yeah, and I, now that deck can run two Erica, two Irida. That's
Mhm.
nasty. It's
Yep. Yep.
nasty. Eggs obviously doesn't. It's mentioned in the chat here by Cashew. Eggs doesn't benefit from Erida. Yeah, you're not going to run that. You're not going to run a water egg stack. Um,
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, a great card. Yeah. I'm excited to see once it crystallizes its space in the meta.
Hmm.
Um we'll see. I think people are gonna revert back to egg
Yeah.
because the personally, I think they're gonna revert back to egg because it's just much applies much more pressure and Leafeon kind of gives Charizard decks too much time to set up. So yeah, we'll see.
I
Water
do.
energy with Yaming, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if this makes our top five list for meta
For sure.
shapers in Triumphant
Yeah,
Light.
for sure.
It's I think a really important note is all the cards that pull energy from the energy zone have seen play. So we have Gardevoir, we have Magneton, and now we have Leafeon. It's an
Mhm.
insane effect to just be able to. You could almost argue you're a turn ahead because you're only
Yep.
generating one energy a turn. So every additional energy you generate is like putting you a turn ahead of your opponent.
Yep.
And that effect
100%.
is insanely powerful.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it acts as a stage one Gardevoir. I guess it only generates if it's in the active, but yeah, absolutely.
I wonder, if this card does become as popular as it could,
Hmm.
will we see more fighting decks emerge? I mean, Hitmonchan just kills Eevee off turn
Yeah.
one, and getting locked out of your Leafeon is pretty brutal. I mean, you know, I
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
when I'm in the water only Leafeon Celebi deck, I did lose a game just because I only had Celebi as my basic, and I'm just on
Mm.
the third turn, it's sitting there with only three water energy on it, and I'm like, all right, concede. You don't
Right.
have
I
your
feel you.
Leafeon,
Yeah.
you're dead basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Perfect. So should we move on to fire?
yeah, let's do that.
Perfect. Excellent.
Here's our first. Do you want to read this one out then? It's our
Yeah,
first fire
absolutely.
card.
So I'll pick up the pace a bit because I think the viewers might want to participate in Ursa Day, and
Yeah,
it's
okay. Okay.
only an hour and 15 away. So yeah, let's we're gonna speed up things a little bit. So let's start with Houndour here. So 60 HP, 20 damage for 1 fire energy, 1 retreat and weak to water. Pretty basic stuff, right? That you would expect out of a fire card. 60 HP is nice because it doesn't get one shot by, stuff that deals 50.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't kill eggs turn one. That's my main
hmm
concern with this
Yeah,
card.
yeah, it comes short. It comes short, right? Even an uncaped egg, it comes short, so that's kind of a big downside. Yeah,
Let's check out its
it needed a
evolution then.
little bit more damage.
Let's check out its
Yeah,
evolution because
so
that's important. Here we go.
that's true. So Houndoom, 100 HP, um, 2 energy for corner, which is during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can retreat. So it's 1
Mm-hmm.
fire, 1 colorless, weak to water, 2 retreat cost, which to me seems like a lot.
Yeah,
They
I agree.
basically reprinted Arbok, right?
Yeah, they
It's
did.
like it's the exact same. Yeah,
And
it's the exact same card as Arbok. Yeah.
I think even with one retreat cost, I don't know if this is good enough. I just don't think Fire has the tools yet to make this card
Yep.
amazing. And retreating isn't
Agreed.
even that
Agreed.
big a deal when you have Cyrus anymore, you know?
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
yeah.
It's it feels like once again, it feels like a genetic Apex card, right? If
Hmm.
this was released during genetic Apex, there would have been like a nice aggro deck around it with like genetic Apex Rapidash. But this card is just
Mm.
like 4 formats too late, right?
Yeah.
Everything, yeah, everything is like much faster now. So yeah, I mean, I'll definitely try it once I get it, but I'm not getting my hopes up.
All right. Here's a big one.
All right,
It's
let's move on to a Heatran. Yes. So Heatran, 110 HP for a fire type. The speed link ability. So if you have Arceus or Arceus EX and play, this Pokemon has no retreat cost, which is huge because its normal retreat cost is 3.
yeah, it's a
So
lot.
basically, I mean, yeah, it's a lot, almost unplayable, right? Outside of pairing it with Arceus EX. Uh, I mean, I guess it's still strong versus grass types because of its ability, which is Raging Mad Strike. So for 2 fire energy, if this Pokemon has damage on it, this attack does 40 more damage. So 80 and then plus weakness 100 on fire types,
Yeah.
on grass types, which is huge. And I've played against this card in the Arceus version. And you kind of never want to attack this card first. Like the fact that
Right.
it retells you for 80 is just so huge. Like you could play an uncaped Skarmory, attack this, and then your Skarmory is dead, even if it doesn't have fire weakness.
Yeah.
So
Great point.
it's yeah, yeah. Definitely like a great aggro card and one of the better Arceus combos in my opinion.
My first
What do you think?
impression was it wasn't broken because 40 for 2, that's a really poor rate. But
Hmm.
80 for 2 is not. So, yeah,
Hmm.
I think this card, I think it'll see play. I don't think it's going to be a meta breaker, but it
Hmm.
does, and we mentioned this earlier, it gives Fire a new tool. Something a little bit different to do, which I really like. You know?
Absolutely.
Fire
Yeah.
needs more cool cards, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they kind of. I mean, they only gave us 3 fire cards,
Yeah, what's that
and
about?
I- right. So it's actually the worst. I guess Dragon got only Giratina, but if we
Yeah.
disregard Giratina, Fire is like the close second in terms of not getting anything. I think yeah, I mean, Charizard is still strong as it is. Maybe they're just afraid of releasing something that puts it over the edge and it becomes like a tier 0 type of deck that's both like strong and consistent. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
makes
We'll see.
sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think
Yeah.
Charizard is. Part of me wants to say it's the best deck. It's just a little inconsistent, when you just don't get those draws don't line up. But for the most part, it's
Mhm.
the most powerful deck, isn't it? In terms of its raw damage
Mhm.
output. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
Heatran, definitely a card you should have on your radar. There's no doubting that. It's 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 gonna see play, I think.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to the waters now. So we got our first one
Perfect.
here, bread and butter. Say it again. It's Maril, 60 HP, and for one blue, it does water gun for 20. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, let's look at
Uh,
Azumarill, yeah, and see how
yeah,
that works.
absolutely.
All right, here is its evolution, Azumarill. So this one has 100 HP, and for blue and a colorless, or water and a colorless, it does 60. Two
Mhm.
retreat cost. Hmm.
Yep.
So not quite as good as
Uh,
Golduck, is it?
yeah, no, it just looks like a strictly worse Golduck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get 10 HP more, but 10 damage less, and the 2 retreat cost is just too steep.
Agree. I
Yeah,
totally
sadly, I
agree.
feel like it's a cute card. Yeah, I love the full art version of Maril, but I
Me
feel
too.
like these two are just like filler, sadly. But I mean, for collectors, right? Collectors are happy, so
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't have a draft format where you would
yep,
definitely play these cards if we did. But as it is, these are to me, these
yep.
seem like cards when you're new to the game and you're doing the solo battles. They're kind of
Hmm.
cards you can put in your deck to get you through those battles and earn your hourglasses, right? They're
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah.
That's kind of how I look at this. And again, not every card can be busted. That would be ridiculous. So it is what it is.
Mhm. Yep.
And I think we could, that Marill has a water energy. We could see like a fairy type Azumarill in the future, or some sort of other Azumarill that
Oh,
makes us revisit Marill. So,
absolutely. Yep.
all right. So now we've got Barboach. So this is a 60 HP for one water and one colorless, so 2 energy total, you get Mudslap for 30. I'm not a fan of any basic that has a 2 energy attack. It's
Yeah, it feels too steep. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, look at Hitmonchan. Look at Heatmore.
Hmm.
They have 30 damage, 1 energy attacks, and they have more HP than this. I mean, they don't evolve, but what
Right.
what are
Yeah,
you doing with this card? Nothing.
that's true. Nothing. Yeah. We
Cool.
can check out Wishcash. Maybe
0 out
it's a
of
bit more
10.
interesting.
Yeah. So Whiscash, this evolves from Barboach stage 1. It's got 120 HP. For 2 waters, 2 colorless, that's 4. You heard that right. That's 4 total. You get Thrash. It was 80 plus.
Hmm.
Flip a coin.
Uh,
If heads, it does 60 more damage. All right, 140. Okay. If tails, it does 20 to itself. It's weak to electric, which is funny because this is technically a ground type. So, okay. And it's got 3 retreat costs, quite steep. Not sure about
Absolutely.
this
And
one.
yeah, me neither. I mean, the four energy attack is kind of too much. Like, yes, 140 is big damage, but it is a coin flip.
Mhm.
So yeah, and even then you do end you go down to 100 HP and you can't retreat with the 3 retreat costs. So yeah, I mean better than Azumarill, but still not quite meta defining.
I can't really get behind any card with a four energy attack that doesn't
Yeah,
isn't
it's
just going to win you the game on the spot. That's such an
100%.
investment,
Yep.
right? So,
Yep.
well, they tried. I'm sure Wishcash will get some love in the future.
Hopefully.
All right, we got a nice little ice type. Snorunt, 60 HP. Okay. I like 60. That's the number we want
Yep.
to see on a
Yep.
basic. And
That's true.
Icicle, water for 20 damage. So this is weak to steel, interestingly, right? Because
Mhm.
it's an ice type.
Mhm.
We don't see that weakness often. There haven't been many ice cards so far in Pocket.
Yeah. Absolutely, and they're just starting to roll them out,
Mm-hmm.
right? With Glaceon being weak to steel, and we'll get to it. But yeah, definitely, pretty standard stuff. I like the steel weakness. It kind of balances out the electric weakness of other types, so you kind of it's cool if you would run like one electric weakness and one steel weakness. It helps you round out your weaknesses
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. You know, having those different angles, we've seen how powerful it can be. So,
Hmm.
how good this card is really going to be reliant on its evolution,
Yep.
which is
So let's check it
Frostlass.
out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, we've got a 90 HP stage 1. For a water and a colorless, you get Blizzard. 40 damage, and we've seen this before. It seems to be an effect it has on every card that has it. It does 10 damage to
Hmm.
each of your opponent's bench Pokemon.
Hmm.
Ooh, okay. I mean, is this going to be meta playable? No. But, I'm just going to call it now. But it's an interesting effect for a one prize point Pokemon to be able to do 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Just gonna pull up. Frost Rotom, right? It's like probably the closest comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So Frost Rotom in Space Time SmackDown is 80 HP and has the same Blizzard effect for 2 energies, deals 30 and 10 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon with the same weakness and the same retreat. So this card, I mean, I'm not sure why you would run Frostlass instead of just
Yeah,
Frost Rotom. That's a basic.
right.
So yeah,
I suppose
yeah.
the
But
idea is you're curving out with the Frost Rotom. You just have to put
that's
it in
true.
the basic spot and charge 2 energy. At least with this, you can get one attack in with Snorunt before you
That makes
Blizzard.
sense. Yeah, that
So that makes
makes sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, from a
But
design perspective, there's a bit of small upside there, but again, you're using two deck slots now.
yep.
Yeah, so cool card, great art, and again, I think any sort of Blizzard or bench dealing card is something to think about. It could
Absolutely.
have its place.
Yep.
Okay, next up, Snova. All right, HP. It's a basic with 70 HP, and it's got a 30 damage attack, corkscrew punch that takes a water and a colorless. Again, I'm not a fan of basics that you know have a 2 energy attack. They're slow.
Right.
And it's got a 2
Yeah.
retreat cost as well, worth mentioning. 2 retreat cost is a lot.
Absolutely. And yeah. I mean, 30 is just not a lot of damage even for 2 energies.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
the retreat cost is really painful. I guess it's still leafable,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's at least that. But let's see what its evolution looks like. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna define if it's playable or not.
So we've got a Bomber Snow with 120 HP. Here we go. Another Arceus card. So, if you have Arceus or Arceus X in play, attacks used by this Pokemon cost 1 less colorless energy. So that attack in
Mhm,
question is Mega Punch. It's got 2
mhm.
waters and a colorless for 80. So we're looking at,
Yep.
with Arceus, we're looking at 2 waters for 80. Is that a
Right.
good rate for you?
Yep. So, honestly, I'll take it. Yeah, like if
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, it becomes like a non-EX Starmie EX, right? In the sense
Mm-hmm.
that it has 120, so 10 less than Starmie EX. With the Arceus effect, it deals 80 for 2, and Starmie EX does 90 for 2. The retreat cost is still huge, don't get me wrong. But, for a one pointer, like, yeah, I mean,
I was going to say it's a
uh,
one pointer. You can really get away with them killing it, whereas Starmie
ab-
X, ooh. So
absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. This
So
this is interesting.
honestly, hmm
No, the
hmm
Starmie comparison was really insightful. I had not thought of that myself, and when you put it in that context, yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty all right.
it's pretty all right, honestly. Like, let's say you play it, you evolve it on on curve, and you get your second energy on it on the Arceus. You can Sabrina a Charmeleon and one shot it with the
Wow.
weakness. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, like I saw people play Regice,
Mm-hmm.
right, last format, and like so they would play Manaphy, Regice, and they would play Palkia. But I mean, there could be a cook, if you play Manaphy, Abomasnow line, and Arceus, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Manaphy charges both Arceus and Abomasnow, And you know, 80 damage is, yeah, pretty strong. You can lose the Mana Fee, you can lose the Abomasnow, and then you can come in with the Arceus finisher. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm excited to play it, you know, give it a try. I think it's not as good as Heatran. I think
Yeah,
Heatran
I'm with you.
is, yeah, it's definitely better than it as like a Arceus combo, and we'll get the Crobat later. But I mean, maybe it's a third in line
I really
in terms
wish,
of,
I really
yeah,
wish
yeah,
that
we'll see, we'll see.
Was it Snova? I wish that had a one
Yeah,
eight energy attack. I think it would have pushed this card to be
absolutely.
much more playable because you're dealing 30 and then you're dealing 80. That's
Yeah,
scary. As it is, you know.
yeah, yeah, it's true. Maybe they're gonna re-release the Snover in
Hmm.
a future pack, and then it would be much better. You're right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, very cool. Nice. We're moving through these quickly here. We're about a third of the way through. So we've got Glaceon
Perfect.
X. 140 HP, spicy artwork. Its ability is snowy
Love it.
terrain. Really, really crazy looking ability here. So during Pokemon Checkup, so this Pokemon Checkup, for anyone wondering, it occurs at the end of each turn. It's kind of when poison might trigger, any sort of effects like that. If it's in the active spot, you do 10 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Then it's got a 90 damage attack, freezing wind, for 2 water and a colorless. Only 1 retreat cost, and it's weak to
Yep.
steel.
Yep. Honestly, I love it, mainly because of the art.
Yeah,
But
right.
I also think it's a really decent card. 20 damage for free, is nothing to scoff at. However, there's a big caveat in the sense that it has to stay in the active for the ability to
Yes.
activate.
Mm-hmm.
So, we talked about it earlier when we were comparing it to Darkrai. And Darkrai, you can chip from the bench, right?
Yeah, it's
So
safe there.
it it's safe, exactly. And you know, like you kind of get the same 20 damage per turn from Darkrai still, right? Because every time you attach energy, by the time you get to 3, you deal 60, same as Glaceon, right?
Yeah,
If you
right.
keep it in the active. Um, so
It's a stage 1 as well. Bit
it's a
awkward.
stage 1, yeah, big difference here. I guess it has one less retreat than Darkrai, but being a stage 1 is day and night in terms of you know, consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like the concept. I think it's a good card, right? It's like one of the, not the better EXs, but it's definitely middle ground.
Yeah, right.
Um, but yeah, I think it's still no Darkrai, sadly.
I love the effect, or the ability, excuse me, and I love the design. I just think it being a stage 1, and you mentioned it having to be in the active spot. You don't really want an X in the active spot tanking, do you? You want something else, something a little bit, something that's going to give up 1 prize point, or at least be putting a bit more pressure than this.
Yep.
You know, I
And this
think,
is
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's a great point that you make, because keeping it in the active in order to do its ability, it means you're taking damage on it every turn, unless you're playing against Moltres or something. And so yeah, it's like becomes a Cyrus target. So
yeah,
whereas
right,
Darkrai,
right.
you know, not staying undamaged from the bench is a huge deal. So yeah, I think this is why. I mean, it's a cool card. I'll definitely try to make a deck around it once I pull it. But I
Mm, yeah,
either Articuno or Palkia. Yeah,
yeah.
because yeah, Palkia just deals with high HP Pokemon much better, and Articuno is much more consistent.
And it doesn't work with Misty
Yeah.
in the sense that you can't Misty Eevee in advance and then
Oh,
drop
yeah,
this and immediately hit for 90. You've got to evolve into it, and
that's true.
then you play your Misty. And that's a later point in the game.
Yep,
Misty gets worse, in my opinion, as more turns pass, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
So,
because it makes less of a
mm-hmm,
difference. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Funny, Cashew says it could pair with Leafeon to cover weakness. Obviously, you saw that deck I sent you
True.
yesterday, that cheeky brew.
Yeah,
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 I
yeah.
built a Leafeon Glaceon deck that has Elder in it to recur your Eevee. It was
Mhm.
cool. I as soon as I started playing a just Leafeon Celebi deck, though, I was like, okay, this is a little bit more consistent, But
Yep,
all
perfect.
right, let's move on to
Two
Origin
more waters.
Palkia.
Yep.
So I don't know what they were thinking with these cards, but I don't like them. So Origin Palkia, 820 HP for 3 water. You get a 60 damage attack zone smash. However, you can flip a coin. If it's heads, it does 60 more. 2
Right.
retreat and weak to lightning. I mean, it just dies to Magnezone, right? I don't see it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it gets one shot by Magnezone. And yeah, 3 energies for 60 and a flip for 120. Not the worst considering there's Misty support. It's also leafable.
Mm-hmm.
Uh yeah, but I don't know. I mean I guess its closest comparison would be maybe Heatran being a 1 pointer for 120, but Heatran does
Right.
110 guaranteed, and this one it's only if you flip the coin properly. So on average it deals
Good shout. Yeah.
90.
Yeah. And you know
It
what?
gives 90 on average. So yeah.
I look at this
Yeah. So
card. Why didn't they power link these origin forms? That would have flipped from
there
a
you go.
flavor perspective. That would have made so much sense. I mean, imagine if this said it. If you have Arceus in play, don't flip a coin, or
Yep.
you always flip heads. Now we're kind of thinking, oh, okay, but I don't know why these don't have power link. From a flavor perspective, that would have made so much sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's true. That's true. Uh, they the devs missed one on this one.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
All
maybe
right,
when
so
they
let's
listen
see
to
the
this,
last water card.
when they listen
Yeah,
back to this, they'll be like, "Oh, of course, we should have done that." All right,
hopefully,
so
hopefully.
we've we've got Fion here, 60 HP. So for 2 water, get Water Pulse, 40 damage, and it puts your opponent's active Pokemon to sleep. Weak to
Mhm,
lightning and 1 retreat cost. Interesting
mhm.
card. I think 2 waters on a 60 HP basic is really awkward. Really
Yeah,
awkward.
yeah, it's definitely too slow for sure.
Yep.
It might even die before you get your second energy on it. So
All right, let's move on. I
yeah,
don't think we need
let's
to.
move on.
All right, so let's get to our electric cards. Probably one of my favorite
Perfect.
artworks in the new set. Do you want to read this one out for us?
Absolutely. So Pikachu, the poster boy, 60 HP. Weak to fighting, 1 retreat cost. So same as the I mean all of the Pikachu
Yep.
reprints, right? They all have 60 HP and 1 retreat, and they're all weak to fighting. And Spark, for 1 electric energy, this attack does 10 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. I really like it. I'll be honest with you. It's still an electric attack, so you still deal 30 to
Mm-hmm.
cards that are weak to electric. I guess you can't knock out a Manaphy with Giovanni, right? But who runs Giovanni, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but the fact that you chip for 10 is a big deal in a Cyrus world. So yeah, no, I like it. I think it's a great version of Pikachu. Um, Maybe if there was a better Raichu, or I mean, I love the Genetic Apex Raichu.
I
I
was
played it a lot.
literally just gonna bring that up and say that
Yeah,
was a decent finisher. When I ran the Pikachu X deck before it became the Zeb
yeah,
Striker
yeah.
version, I did run a version that played just as an alternate angle, just to
Raichu.
give you that extra.
Yep.
It's like 140, isn't it? Or it's a
Yeah,
large
140.
number. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think this is the other best basic Pikachu. I think is the one that acts the mini Pikachu X.
yep,
Do you think
yep.
this replaces that, or do you think that one is still the best, dealing 30 against Manaphy and kill it?
Um, I guess it's situational, right?
Yeah,
Because if you're playing the new Raichu, which has Arceus Link, you need a full bench, right, for Arceus.
yeah,
So
exactly.
you might as well play the mini, right? The 10 for each bench Pokemon. You might as well
Yes,
play that one,
yeah,
right? To try to one shot a Yanma. You can one shot does Manaphy have electric weakness?
yeah,
It does. So you can one shot a Manaphy. So yeah, you might as well if you're playing um Triumphant Light Raichu, then you're best off with I think it was Mythical
Yeah,
Island
it
or
was. Yeah,
I think it was Mythical Island Pikachu, the one that has the mini effect. Yeah.
I agree. And speaking of the new Raichu, here it is.
Mm. Yep. So Raichu, right? 90 HP. It's a bit low, but let's get to its ability. If you have Arceus or RCCX, this Pokemon takes minus 30 damage from attacks. So it's 120 effective HP on the first turn,
Yeah, right.
and even more after, right? Because this effect, the fact that it affects every attack, it's actually a lot more than you think, right? It protects Raichu a lot more than you think. Spark, so for 2 energy, attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Honestly, it's like pretty decent. I guess it's a Frost Rotom effect, but with like more damage to the bench. You could still you can still heal 20 with potion, so you can cancel it
Mm-hmm.
with potion. But I like it. Yep.
I don't think it's the
I
best
just
Link card, but I think
yeah, for sure.
I just don't think this is better than the Genetic Apex Raichu, ultimately.
Yep, me neither. And yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what people come up with. I mean, it's cool that they're trying to give
Mm-hmm.
us more electric cards. It's my favorite type after fire. So hopefully they cook up some more stuff for next patch, but we'll see.
Yeah, let's see how they
Yeah, let's
cooked with
see what.
Electrike.
Yeah, so Electrike 60 HP, Zap Kick for 1 electric energy, 1 retreat, fighting weakness, pretty standard stuff.
Yeah,
Same as like the regular Pikachu, same as Blitzel. So we can check out Manectric.
yeah, here we go.
So Manectric, its evolution, stage 1, 90 HP, flash for 40. 1 energy, that's pretty cool. During
Yeah,
your opponent's next turn, if the defending Pokemon tries to use an attack, your opponent flips a coin. If tails, this attack doesn't happen. So it's basically a tail whip with damage. Um, the only downside to this type of phrasing is that your opponent can swap out and attack with
right.
something else. It's not like protect,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not like the Shinx protect or the Duck Trio protect where the effect is actually present on your Pokemon, so it doesn't matter with which Pokemon your opponent attacks, you can still activate it. This thing gets cleared away by your opponent retreating. But, I guess 90 for 40 and an added effect is pretty decent, right? If you compare it to like Primeape or Zipstrika,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's decent.
I don't
I'm not
think it's
sure.
great,
Gonna
but I do like that you only have to invest a single energy.
100%. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Psychic.
All right. So what have they cooked for us with Psychic? A type that is in dear need of love since Dark types have taken over. So
Hmm.
we've got Clefairy here, 60 HP, Smack for 30, and that costs a Psychic and a Colorless. Ouch. And it's
Yeah.
got weak to
Yeah.
Steel, Retreat 1. I don't see it. Again, 2 energy on a basic. You know, you really want a 1 energy attack so you're curving into your evolution and getting some ping in early.
100%. Yep.
But let's check out
Let's
Clefable, because maybe that's going
yep.
to turn heads.
Hmm.
Clefable. There's 100 HP. Moonblast for a psychic and 2 colorless does 60, and during your opponent's next turn, attacks used by their defending Pokemon do minus 30 damage.
Yep.
I think that's just too
Um,
much energy.
100%. It needed to be 2 as well, and
Hmm.
it would have been a really decent effect. 2 retreat is manageable, but yeah, 3 energies on the attack is just too much.
I think we have an
100%.
old Clefairy that attacks for 1, but the fact that this doesn't attack for 2 is going to really
Yeah,
hold it back ultimately. Okay, speaking of
absolutely. Yeah.
cards here that also have previous versions, Ghastly.
Hmm.
So 50 HP on this one, it's psychic, weak to dark and 1
Hmm.
retreat. For a colorless, that's intriguing. Astonish.
Hmm.
Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent reveals a random card from their hand and shuffles it into their deck. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
It's
unique effect.
interesting. Yeah, it's really cool. Um, I guess it's a bit better than the 60 and 20 damage. It is a colorless attack, so that's kind of nice. 50 is a bit low. You can get one shot by a lot of things, but the effect of, giving your opponent a -1 if you flip the coin is kind of big. Yeah.
I think it's best against combo decks like Palkia or Charizard. And what I refer to by combo is they're really looking for a specific set of cards at the right time. With Charizard, you're trying to evolve
Yep.
on curve. With the Palkia deck, you're trying to get your Vaporeon out. And this can really,
Yep.
if you get lucky, because not only do you have to flip a heads, then there's an additional RNG element of which card gets shuffled in, but you can interrupt their plan, right? And
Yep.
for that reason, I don't think we should ignore this card. I think if Gengar X ever becomes playable, you're playing this Ghastly.
Absolutely. Yep. Um, all
Oh,
right.
so Haunter.
The Hunter.
So this one has
It,
80 HP, and for 2 Psychic,
yep.
you can Mumble for 40. Not really a
Yeah.
bad rate when you're curving out into Gengar X, is it?
It isn't. The only downside is that the other Haunter deals 30 for 1,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you compare the 40 for 2 and 30 for 1, and it has the same HP and same retreat, if I'm not mistaken, I'm just gonna look it up. But and when you have, yeah, it has the same HP. So when you do the comparison, the genetic Apex Hunter is still better, because you can put that energy elsewhere.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, like maybe on a Miss Magus or something.
So I guess if you're running Gengar X, maybe this one's better in the sense that you're going to be dedicating that energy to the Ghastly line to hit your 3 energy for, I think it's Spooky Shot
Mhm.
that Gengar X has.
Yep.
But if you're running the new Gengar, here we go. So this is
Mhm.
140 HP. It's 2 Psychics for Hypnoblast, 70 damage, and you put your opponent's Pokemon to sleep. Interestingly, this only has 1 retreat cost.
Yep. Yep.
I don't
So
hate
this is
this.
actually, no, me neither. Because even the genetic Apex Gengar has 2 retreat,
Mm-hmm.
and for 1 damage, for a 1 energy attack. So you kind of have to add a second energy and waste it to retreat if you want to.
Yeah, right.
Whereas in this situation, you can retreat it and still don the remaining energy off it onto like a Miss Magus or something.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Interesting card. I
very
mean,
cool.
I don't think it's going to
Very cool.
break the game, but I think
No.
it gives us another. It's a decent card. It really is.
hmm
All right.
Absolutely.
So here's a super interesting one, Unknown. So its ability, it's 60 HP basic. Its ability is check. Once during your turn, you may choose either player. Look at the top card of that player's deck. For colorless, you can use hidden power. 1 retreat, and it's weak to dark. I mean, I'll tell you what. So the psychic decks obviously love their mythical slabs. This kind of
Right.
automatically synergizes with that when you're looking at your top
hmm
card.
hmm
Looking at the opponent's top card, it can be useful information. However, it's not like you can interact with that card. So
Yep.
oftentimes you're just going to see it and then they're going to draw it and they're going to kill you with it anyway. Um,
Exactly.
so,
Like anything, all the card, yeah. Sorry, you go ahead.
no, go.
Perfect. So, all the hand reveal cards in this game, are innately not that strong because, like you said, right? It's the decks are 20 cards. So if your opponent has the card, he's gonna use it anyways, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter. And you can't stop him from using it, right? I guess in some situations where you're running red card or Mars, that's when you want to have hand reveal cards. But if you're not running those hand reveal
Yeah,
cards,
right, right.
I mean, if you're not running those like reshuffle cards, there's no point knowing your opponent's hand, right? You're just gonna like, especially in tournaments when they give you their list, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
know what you're dealing with already. Um,
And a lot of the
However,
cards that are good to reveal, like Sabrina and Cyrus, are cards that you should be playing around anyway if you're playing, tournament level pocket.
exactly. And I right, like if you reveal their hand, it doesn't mean they can't draw it next turn. And if you reveal what they're drawing, it doesn't mean that they don't already have it in hand,
Right,
right?
we don't have a way to
So
shuffle their library other than the 2 cards you mentioned earlier.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I guess
but it's a card
Persian.
that
I
could
mean, but
It's a card that
Yeah.
could become better over time as we see more cards. Like, let's say we have a card eventually, like, let's say we have a Pokemon with a decent attack that says, look at your opponent's
Hmm.
hand and discard a
Hmm.
card from that hand.
Yep,
But
absolutely.
then
It might be
again,
useful. Yep.
yeah, I just don't. I think ultimately the fact that Unknown itself doesn't have a good attack or rate to go with its ability makes that ability useless. If we were looking at Unknown and saying, oh, we'd play that, then yeah, you'll
Hmm.
take the check to go along with it,
Yep.
but we're not. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think people will
Um,
try this card and quickly realize checking what's on top of your opponent. Again, I think that the effect is best used to check your own top card and then mythical
yeah,
slap.
yeah, yeah. So it's like a polygon, but with like more versatility.
Hmm.
Um, and also, well, polygon has stage 1 and stage 2, but yeah, it's a cool card. Uh, we'll see. We'll see if it has any, good use.
Here's a card I think we'll see play. So it's
Hmm.
Rotom. It's got 70 HP, Psychic. It's got Dash Attack for a colorless, so this can be played in any deck. And it does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It's weak to Dark and Retreat, but it's got a link with Arceus here, and it's that this Pokemon has no retreat cost. So,
Hmm. Yep.
wow, I mean, the fact that this can slot into any deck is interesting. The fact that it turns on Cyrus is
Hmm.
interesting. I don't love that it's not deal 20 to one of your opponent's Pokemon, it's one of your opponent's
Hmm.
benched Pokemon.
Hmm.
So, kind of in the same way you can play around Hitmonlee by just keeping one Pokemon in the active slot and then it's just sat there doing nothing, you can do the same to Rotom.
Hmm. Absolutely. Um, I mean, I guess like it's a strictly better Azelf, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
take it in the, if you pair it with Arceus. Um, 20 is a bit low. 30 is like a much more important breakpoint, right? Because it hits Magikarp, it hits a bunch of other stuff. It can two-shot Pokemon with 60 HP as
Yeah.
well as 50 HP.
Yeah.
So 20, yeah, it's not the most damage. It is a colorless, so you can tech it into everything. We were talking about like the Carnivine. We're talking about the Carnivine Arceus Magnezone line. I
Mm-hmm.
mean deck, right? Maybe you add like one of Rotom, just to like empower, like to activate your Cyrus, right? You can like
Yeah.
one of,
Right.
you can you can tag like a Darkrai with this,
That's true because you've given up the
or
Darkrai in that deck, which was
yeah,
what made Cyrus so powerful.
exactly. So you can like tag a Darkrai with this or something on the bench and then pull it with Cyrus and then hit it with Magnezone or Arceus. So I think one of Rotom is gonna be pretty good in a lot of Arceus decks. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to fighting. You want to read this one out
Hmm.
for us?
Absolutely. So our first one, the tree mimic himself, Pseudo Wudo, 80 HP, a fighting type. Um, for 1 damage, fighting headbutt. So if your opponent's active Pokemon is at Pokemon EX, this attack does 30 more damage on top of the 20 that it deals regularly. Weak to grass, which is a big deal, and also to retreat, which is a huge deal. Um, like I've built yesterday. I was building like a Garchomp deck,
Hmm.
and like we talked about, is Sudowoodo a better Hitmonchan? And I think the two retreat kind of states that it isn't,
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
it's just too much of an investment to get it out of the way. And also the grass weakness for 80 HP is huge, right? You can't even
Yeah.
cape it, it's gonna die. Even if you cape it, it's gonna die to a high roll executor. And without a cape, it dies to a Leafeon attack. So
I think
yeah,
it's a better
I mean,
Tauros. I mean, Tauros having 40 damage for
that's
3
true.
energy kind of made it unplayable, because similar effect in that they do more damage to an X. You,
Yep.
again, this card, if you
So
run into a Metal Zone deck that's not playing any X's, cool.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
you,
exactly.
so yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of
cool
wasted,
design.
right? So
Cool design. I think we'll see
yeah.
this effect come up again. All right, moving on.
Absolutely. Moving on. Let's see. Fan P. I love the art. I'll
I
state
love
it. I
these
love the crochet
yawn.
art.
Yeah, these little yawn
Yeah, yeah.
arts.
It's like It's really cute. 60, so fighting type, 60 HP, 20 damage for 1 energy, 2 retreat costs. Once again, pretty steep. Weak to grass again. So
It's a poor card.
not looking too great. Let's look. Yeah, yeah. Let's see what Donphan looks like. So Donphan, the mana fee, fan fees, stage 1. Um, rolling spin for 3 energy. During your next turn, this Pokemon's rolling spin attack does plus 60 damage. So I guess it's stage 1 Togekiss.
Yeah, right,
It does
right.
the exact same damage as Togekiss. It takes 1 more energy, and the fact that fighting doesn't have any energy generation yet
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like a huge crutch for it.
There's no Cynthia
I
either.
don't think it's,
Cynthia's what pushed Togekiss to be
yeah,
playable, right? This doesn't get that additional
yeah, yeah, that
50.
additional 50 on the first turn. Yeah, so then it can deal 120
Yeah.
after. Um, yeah, no, I think fighting desperately needs energy generation outside of Brock. So hopefully we'll get that soon. We sadly haven't gotten it this time, but we'll see.
All right. Next one, Larvitar.
Lavatar, 60 HP, 2 energy for Corkscrew Punch, which is 30 damage. So 1 fighting, 1 colorless energy. Uh, Grass weakness
Ouch.
and
I
1
hope you like
retreat
dying
cost.
to a
Yeah,
low roll Executor because that's what this card is going to be
exactly.
doing.
Yeah, it feels so bad, I'll be honest with you. They really gave fighting this expansion. I'm not sure if all of them are I guess there's only 2 of them that are weak to psychic, but everything else is weak to grass. And I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot by doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, like why would you release cards that have grass weakness when the top deck is grass, right? Like why
Mm-hmm.
are you giving them, like more advantage? I guess these cards are made like months in advance, so
Yeah,
they don't really
yeah,
know. But even a last minute change in the weakness to Psychic, I don't think it would have been a big deal, especially since Psychic decks are nowhere to be seen now.
agree. So let's check out
Mhm.
Pupitar.
Yeah,
Pretty bad as well, isn't
Pupitar,
it?
it is. Like 3 damage, 3 energy for 50. That's just terrible, I'll be honest with you. Compare it to Dragonair, which has 100 HP. It's a stage 1. It deals 80 for 3
Yeah.
damage. Right? So that's pretty respectable. And it has the same retreat cost of 1. But yeah, no, they really shot the Puppetar in the foot with this one.
And I
I mean
think
the whole Tyranitar line, they shot it in the
I
foot.
was going to
Yeah.
say, let's look at Tyranitar here. This is really supposed to be the payoff. Supposed to be being.
Exactly. It's supposed to
It's
be your
look at it.
sweeper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you invest 4 energy in it and a stage 2 and the basing and the stage 1 are terrible, you better expect your stage 2 to be a sweeper. So Tyranitar, 160 HP. It does have Power Link with Arceus. Attacks used by this Pokemon do plus 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So let's say you're only playing it with Arceus. Then you have access to Land Crush, which is 4 energy, 3 fighting, 1 colorless for 130, and 160 win combined with Arceus. I mean,
It's a lot of
I
damage,
guess
but
it
it's 4
clears.
energy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 4 energy. It does clear an uncaped Palkia, but how does it deal with like Gyarados? How does it deal with
Mm-hmm.
Charizard? How does it deal with, a lot of other things? I'll be honest with you, if you want to run a stage 2 fighting type, just run Rhyperior instead.
Yeah.
Because you don't need Arceus. It has better
Or use
like
Golem.
evolution. Like yeah, or Golem. Yeah, Golem is better than both of them. So yeah, and it does have grass weakness, so it gets 2 shot by both Leafeon and High Rolling Executor. So
It's a shame.
and 4 rich.
Tyranitar's such a cool
It's a
Pokemon,
shame.
but and I think its biggest weakness is
Yeah.
its basic and stage 1. Because you're kind of committed to putting all that energy
Yeah.
onto them, and the payoff just is not there. All right.
Exactly. And unless you're running a Magnezone, that energy isn't going anywhere else, right?
Yeah, no,
Like
exact. That's the biggest thing, right? Where
yeah.
you literally have to
Ha-
dedicate all of your basically your whole game plan is to build
Yeah,
up to this Tyranitar.
exactly. And then it doesn't do that much. So let's check out Nose Pass. So let me, so Nose Pass is fighting type, 80 HP. Tackle for one colorless energy. It only deals 10 damage, but it has 3 retreat and grass weakness. 3 retreat is too much. There is already another Nose Pass version,
I think that's the
that
one we'll
came
see
out.
that'll see play, right? If you're playing Probo
Absolutely.
Pass.
Yep. So you probably want to play I think it's let me see here. Is it Mythical Island? It's A2. I guess it was Space Time Smackdown. So 70 HP for instead of 80, but you get 2 damage for ram, which is 30, and really the important thing is the 2 retreat on the other version that
Mm-hmm.
allows you to leaf it out and bring in the Dialga if you want to charge into a Turbo Pass.
Yeah.
So
I
they
just
both have, yeah,
I just don't see it with this one. I think if you're running Probo Pass, you're running the other one.
100%, yeah. So let's look at Metatite. Um, Fighting type, 60 HP. The first psychic weakness fighting card of this expansion. They
Mm-hmm.
really,
Finally.
yeah, finally, right? Jeez, everything's weak to grass. How do you even play that? Um, so pretty standard stuff.
Yeah.
60
60
HP,
20.
20 damage, 1 retreat. Yeah.
That's pretty much
Let's.
50 20 or 60 20, right? Those are our bread
Yep.
and butter basics. So
Uh,
how does its evolution look?
yeah. So I mean, it's evolution, right? If you liked Marowak EX, you're gonna like Medicham. Um,
Yeah. I like that.
right?
That's so true.
Yeah. So stage 1, 100 HP, kick shot, 80 for one energy. So pretty good, but it's a coin effect. So flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing. So
Trash.
yeah, yeah, there you go. And 1 retreat cost, psychic weakness. Yeah, I mean, if you liked Marowak and you want to play something that only gives 1 point, and you still want to like gamble, then yeah, this is your guy. Medicham is your guy.
All right.
Um,
How about this
all right,
cute
let's
little
get to
boy?
this cute little boy, our little Gibble. So, in this expansion, they made the Garchomp line fighting, which is really cool. But 60 HP, tackle, 1 fighting energy for 20, and grass weakness. That's just terrible. I'll be honest with you. This gets one shot by a low rolling executor.
Yeah.
Uh,
Before you can
so
evolve,
I
right?
mean,
Before you can evolve.
before you can even evolve, yeah. Uh, and even that, even like the execute hits you for 40, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So even if
yeah.
you, yeah,
Ouch.
even if you evolve it into Gabite,
Let's
like it
bring
still
up
dies
Gabite
to
then.
like, yeah. So Gabite is 80. So like even if he doesn't evolve his execute, he two
Yeah.
shots your Gabite. Like it's so silly.
Yeah. Now,
The
Shark
devs were,
Scythe
yeah.
on this Gabite, so it's 80 HP, like MST mentioned, and for fight, it's only 1 fighting for 30, which is funny.
Mhm.
I think I think that's a misstep by the designers in that Garchomp's best attack. Well, it's not his best attack because they're actually uh, quite good attacks, but
Mhm.
this could have been 2 energy for maybe a 50 or a
Yeah.
60 because you're probably dedicating that energy to this anyway, aren't you? As
a
you build into your Garchomp.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, I guess if you're pairing it with Lucario, 50
Yeah.
for 1 is still okay, as a like a last resort finisher, or if you need to like give away a point and you need to chip damage on like a Charizard or a Gyarados or whatever, something that's high HP. But yeah, the grass weakness, man, is just that was such a misstep by the devs. I don't know
And
what
then
they were
here's
cooking
the
with this one,
payoff,
but
right?
here's the payoff. Garchomp EX, 170 HP, and 2, you have the option between 2 attacks. 1 energy to deal 50 to any of your opponent's Pokemon.
Wow.
So you can attack both the bench for 50 or the active Pokemon for 50 or 70 or 90 with Lucario,
Yeah.
which comes in pretty clutch, honestly, against Pokemon that have 140 HP, because you want to get that 70 damage twice. And then if you invest more energy into it, you can get Dragon Claw for 3 energy, 2 2 fighting, 1 colorless. And yeah, 1 retreat cost, perfect. He's a
Yeah.
speedy
Really
boy.
good.
Yeah, really good. But once again, man, the 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 grass weakness is just so bad. It
Yeah.
gets two shot by a high rolling executor. It gets two shot by a Leafeon. It gets a Celebi with 3 energy clears it if he
Mm-hmm.
gets all three because of the weakness. Um, yeah, I don't know. This card would have been like really strong if it had psychic weakness. It's still playable. I still enjoy playing it a lot.
It's certainly
It's really
playable.
strong. Yeah, yeah, it's really strong, and all the fighting types are really strong against Arceus and Eevee, and I think Crobat has fighting weakness too.
Yeah.
So yeah, uh, yeah. I guess if you're running this in a tournament, you just pray you don't match against grass, and you'll get far.
Yep,
Yeah.
and that is a prayer that rarely goes answered.
Yeah,
So,
and absolutely, yeah.
all right, let's move into our dark cards. So we've got a Zubat here with 50 HP, 20 for bite, 1 dark energy. So actually, this is interesting because this is better than the current Zubat, which does 10 for a colorless.
Yep.
So definitely an upgrade there. Then we've got a new Golbat. This one I think is probably worse than the previous. So this Golbat has 80 HP, and it also for 1 energy does bite for 30. Now the genetic Apex Golbat has 70 HP, but it does 40
Mhm.
with wing attack. I think
Yeah,
the extra
yeah,
again. I think you want to trade HP for damage in general.
100%. Yeah,
So
and especially since the breakpoints between 80 and 70, they're not that common, right? Like
mm-hmm.
as long as you get above 60, it's all right. I guess the old Golbat, since it has fighting weakness, it gets one shot by a Hitmonchan with Lucario in the back.
Yeah.
So the new Golbat with 80 survives it. So
Okay.
but I guess it's a preference thing at this point.
I think I'll be playing the old Golbat, but yeah, with that in mind, I think both could see play.
Yeah.
All right, and here's the payoff. So it's Crobat, stage 2, 110 HP, Cunning Link. So if you have Arceus, you can do 30 to one of your opponent's active Pokemon. Little Greninja
Mhm.
style effect here. And
Yeah.
Darkness Fang, 1 energy for 50. No
Yeah.
retreat cost.
That's
Very.
crazy.
I mean, this is a card. I'll tell you what. This is a
Yeah.
card.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I played against it yesterday, and honestly, it felt terrible being on the other side of this. Um, it's like the difference between 20 and 30, right? Doesn't seem like a lot. Like, because when you play against Greninja, like yes, you're getting chipped for 20, but I feel like the pressure's on, but it's not the same with Crobat. The
Yeah.
pressure is like twice fold, even for 10 more damage. Because, like 30 damage in 2 turns, it's the same as 20 in 3 turns. So you're getting pressured a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. And especially when your opponent has an Arceus finisher, right? Uh, they can basically do 160, right?
It's
At
insane.
at any turn, right?
And let's
They
not
can do 30
ignore
with
2 Crobats at once. With two,
holy cow.
so with 2 Crobats and a Darkrai, that's 80 passive damage per turn.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
What?
Yeah, it's bananas.
And 50 for 1 energy.
Yeah,
You ain't, you ain't
yeah,
complaining.
it's like absolutely not. It's a super strong attack for 1 energy. You don't even have to place energy on it while you wait. You can just place it the turn you want to attack
Yeah.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a one pointer. You can get it out of the way whenever you want. Honestly, like, wow. I'm actually surprised a lot. Not a lot of people are playing it still. We're gonna have to see it. Yep. And the fact that its only weakness being fighting type is countered by grass, which is the most prevalent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like super strong because people aren't gonna play fighting because of grass type. So Crobat kind of reigns free.
Yeah.
So does Arceus, and people play Kang with it, and Kang also has fighting weakness. So yeah, like I mean, you basically have no weakness at all if you just look at how many people are running fighting decks these days. So
This is a
crazy,
card.
crazy card. Yep,
It's we've seen how good the Greninja Darkrai deck was. This is
yep,
just a
yep.
Greninja that does 30 and can attack a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
Um, yeah, I think this is probably the best Arceus Link card in my opinion.
yeah, I'm with you
Um,
there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess this goes first. Heatran second. Heatran or Carnivine. I think Carnivine second,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then Heatran third. But Crobat is by a long shot the best Arceus Link.
So quick, how are we doing on time? It's 20 minutes for the Ursa right?
Yeah, we can
Are
speed
you
up
gonna
things
play in that?
and make it on time. I think so. Yeah, I think so. Uh,
Will it be
but we
okay if
got
we
time, I
go
think.
over a touch? I mean, we've got approximately
Yeah, for
20
sure.
cards to go, and there's
Yeah, we're
definitely
good.
some
We're
we're going to
good.
want to talk about, a bit more in depth.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's move on. Krogunk. So it's a basic for 60. So this does work with the Team Galactic Grunt we talked about earlier on the stream.
Mhm.
So
Right.
it's 60 HP and beat for 20, one retreat cost. We've seen this card 100 times. This, these stats. How about Toxicroak? So here's
Yeah.
an effect we've yet to see. So stage 1, 100 HP, Toxic, 1 Dark Energy. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Do 20 damage to that Pokemon instead of the usual amount. So basically what it's saying is poison does 10. This is a specific type of poison that does 20.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
What
Yeah.
do you think make of this effect?
Um, the fact that it doesn't have any damage on it, on top of the poison, um, I think it's not the best. Like if you take it at face value, it's 40 damage for 1 energy, right? 40 per
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
because it's 20, 20. So in the end, it's a stage 1, 100, and then 40 damage for 1 and 1 retreat. So it's all right, but your opponent can clear the poison at any time by retreating, right?
I don't think this is
So
taking Weezing's place.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think so either. Um, like Wheezing, right? You can attack for 30 plus
Yeah.
20 weakness, sometimes 50 on top of the 10 that you deal in the first turn and then 20 after. So yeah, I mean it's cool that Krogunk has the grunt support. I'm
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure this is why they made Toxicroak not as good as Wheezing
Yeah,
because of the
exactly.
Krogunk
Exactly. I
support.
mean,
Yeah.
they have to balance that, don't they? When they make a
Yep.
Toxicroak, they have to say, or any Krogunk, Glameow, anything involving
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
card. They have to keep that card in
100%.
mind. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
I like seeing this from a design perspective. I think it's really cool to see them sort of alter a status effect we've seen before.
Yep.
That
Yep.
is cool, and there've been some great design in Pocket, and that makes
Hmm.
me
Hmm.
excited to see where we go. All right,
100%.
if you want to read out our first steel card
Let's
here.
steel card. So we have the steel magnemite, basically the same as the electric one. So 60 HP, 1 steel energy for tackle 20, and 1 retreat cost. So you just copy paste the electric one and you replace it with steel everywhere. Weak to fire. Um, so people have been debating if this is like a better version than the colorless magnemite that deals 10 damage for a
Hmm.
colorless. It depends on the matchup,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like the colorless one is better against Moltres and Skarmory, but it does have fighting weakness, so that's a big deal. This one has fire weakness, so that means you're not gonna get punched out by like a Hitmonchan with Lucario on
Yeah,
turn
yeah.
1. So yeah, I mean it depends. It depends on who you're playing against. Yeah, maybe you can run one of both, and then if you draw both, you decide something like that.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. That definitely could come into
Hmm.
play. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And again, I think them giving us different types of basics like this is great.
Hmm.
It's going to make
Yep.
deck
I
building
agree.
more interesting, and again, it lets you attack the meta as the meta evolves.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if I'm probably going to try Carnivine, Arceus, and Magnezone instead of Skarmory. But
Hmm.
if I'm playing Magnezone, I'll probably try one of each, one steel, one electric. Kind of makes sense. Yeah.
All right,
Let's
here's
go to
Magneton.
Magneton. Yeah. So steel type. 90 HP, 2 energies for a rolling attack, 1 steal, 1 colorless, fire weakness, and 2 retreat, same as the other Magneton, but it doesn't power itself up. And that's a huge
That's the
deal.
problem. Yeah.
That's the problem, yeah. It does have 10 HP more, and the fire weakness helps it against fighting. But you're not getting the same value out of it, so yeah.
It's going to take a hell of a Magneton to replace the one we currently use.
Oh, for sure, for
One that
sure.
shouldn't be printed because it would be way too good.
That'd be way too good,
Yeah.
100%. Let's look at the new Magnezone. So obviously Magnezone, probably the best card of last format. They're giving us another one in Triumphant Light. Steel type, same HP, 140. Resilience linked to Arceus. So if you have Arceus or Arceus EX, takes minus 30 from attacks. Um, Power Beam, 3 energy for 80, which is decent. But I think the real issue about it is that it needs 2 steel, 1 colorless.
Yeah,
If it
yeah.
only needed 1 steel and 2 colorless, you would be able to power it up with Magneton and then put the steel energy and then not have to discard, just hit for 80 every turn, bada bim, bada boom. But 2 steel means you have to like actively commit
Yep.
energy from your energy zone to it, and then you can get the third one from its stage 1. But I think they did this on purpose. It would have been way too strong if it
Yeah,
had
I agree.
only 1 steel and 2 colorless. 2 retreat is the same. Weak fire weakness is cool. I don't think it's gonna replace the old Magnezone, even though it's like it takes less damage from attacks, just because of its like its colors in the attack, the color combination that it requires in its attack.
I
Yeah.
do think we're comparing them only because their name is Magnazone, but in truth, they're
Mhm.
two completely different cards
Yep.
and
Yep.
are meant to go in different archetypes.
Yep.
And that's cool. I like that. But yeah, I don't see it with this. I do think Resilience Link on this with 140 HP is is strong, but
Yep.
ultimately, you know, why you have to ask yourself, why am I playing this over the current Magnazone? And oftentimes your
Hmm.
answers are going to come up short.
Agreed. Yep.
All right. What else do we have here for Steel? They definitely got some love in this set, though, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
All right.
So
Mawile.
let's see what's next. Mawile, yeah. Let me pull it up. So, 70 HP, 1 energy, Iron Beam Breaker. 20 base damage. It's a colorless attack. If your opponent's active Pokemon is Steel Pokemon, this attack does 30 more damage. It's too situational for me, honestly.
Yeah.
1 retreat cost, 1 fire weakness is nice, but yeah, like sure it slaps Dialga, but so does Carnivine and so does Skarmory with the
Yeah,
helmet or
exactly.
cape.
I think it should
Yeah.
have been more damage. I mean, the only time
Yep.
this is seeing play is in a all steel meta. When is that going to happen? It isn't. And two, is it even that
Yeah.
good there? It wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
agree.
I think they could have at
Let-
least given this 30 on its base and then doing 30 more for 60. But
I think so too.
yeah, I
Let's
mean,
let's check
yeah.
out. Yeah. Sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, you're good. We're moving on to a card. An interesting one
Uh,
here. It's
An interesting
Probopass.
one. Yeah. Really funky art. I
Oh, it
think
looks
it's
like it's got a
funny. I like
booger
it.
coming out of its nose.
I agree. I agree. Not the most attractive card, but I mean, they gave us Leafeon and Glaceon, which look really nice. So I guess they had to like balance it out, right? Uh, so Steel type, Probopass EX, 160 HP, pretty decent.
Yeah.
Uh, Defensive unit. So for 2 steel and 1 colorless, so 3 energy total, you get 90 damage. During your opponent's next turn, this takes minus 20 from attacks. So it's kind of like Golem. It's like a stage 1 Golem. It does have the same HP as Golem. It takes 1 less energy. It can get ramped by Dialga.
Yeah,
Um,
most importantly,
Pretty,
right?
yeah, most importantly. Fire weakness is actually good, because you are gonna get one shot by Charizard anyways. So you might as well have weakness that,
Yeah.
like not a lot of people play aggro decks with. And 3 retreat, I mean, you have to commit with it. Um,
You're going to have the 3 energy on it anyway,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Is this better? Like, I think the closest comparison from last format would be Yanmega EX. Uh, because, you know, it's a stage one, you powered up with Dialga, it's 3 energies. Uh, I think it might be a bit better. Just because it doesn't have electric weakness, it has more
Yeah,
HP.
exactly.
Uh, and you know, like the difference between 90 and 20, like you in the situations where you're not gonna one-shot things with Yanmega, this Probopass is better, right? Because you want more stability to you know make sure you get a second attack in. So
I
yeah,
do
I mean it's
think
cool.
so. Those Dialga decks were often powering up a second Dialga, a Melmetal, or
Hmm.
like you mentioned, Yamega. Now, I thought Yamega was the best because unlike the Dialga and the Melmetal, which once they have their 2 energies, when you bring them in, they still can't do. Dialga still can't do its best attack yet, and Melmetal can't
Yep,
attack yet.
yep,
This can. So I like
yep.
that once it's powered up, as soon as it comes in, you can attack
Hmm.
with it. I think that's important.
Yeah, and a comparison to it would be Pidgeot EX,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which also deals you know damage for 3 energies depending on how many bench Pokemon you have. It has 170 HP versus 160. But Pidgeot EX is a stage two, so you need to run like 2 comms with it.
Yeah.
So Probopass completely replaces Pidgeot, and it frees up so many deck slots for Adaman, for capes and helmets and all that.
Yeah.
So very excited. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think this card. Well, I'd like it to see play.
Mm,
I
yeah.
think it will. I still don't think that's going to be the most broken strategy, and I think that has more to do with Dialga just being horrible on the draw. Or sorry, on the play.
100%.
On the
Yep.
play, excuse me. When you're going second, it's ideal. But when they get the first energy attachment, ouch. It's like Pachirisu. You're just kind of like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
so far behind here.
Yeah. Dialga is you're right. It's like its strength comes from going second. And if you're not going second, you better go next. So
All right,
yeah.
next one up here, Bronzor.
Bronzor, so 60 HP, steel type, ram, one colorless, fire weakness, and one retreat. Bronzong, 120. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I mean, it's Bronzor, pretty standard stuff. 10 damage is on the weak side. One retreat, standard. Fire weakness, standard. Let's see what its evolution gives us.
Yeah, here we go.
Bronzong, 120 HP. Uh, for 3 colorless. So this card can get teched into anything. Bronzor, its basic was also colorless. You get Psychic. This attack does 20 damage for each energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. So 3 energies is kind of steep,
Yeah,
uh, but the strength comes from being a colorless card. So they basically gave colorless decks an option, right? A psychic card that can go against the Celebi or
yep,
Charizard or
yep.
Gyarados or the likes. But it does take 3 energy, so I think you want to pair it with Dialga still if you run this, but that
Yeah,
means you're not putting else something. You're not putting in something else.
at least then it goes with Adaman, but
Yep.
I don't love it. I just think that, like you said, 3 energy steep, 3 retreat costs steep, and
Hmm.
it doesn't have enough HP for me. I think that's where it
Yep.
falls flat. Would we call it a better
Absolutely.
Alakazam? Um, Psychic is not in a
I mean,
good place,
yeah.
but it is a stage one versus a
Mhm.
stage two.
Yeah, but it also deals only 50 plus 20, whereas Alakazam does 60 plus 30 per energy, and
Yeah,
that just
right.
scales like so much more,
Yeah.
right? Whereas this, you definitely you need like another finisher after attacking with this. So
Yeah, you do. And yeah,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I don't see it as far as
I don't see
tournament play,
it. Yeah.
obviously. All
Mhm.
right. I mean, Alakazam didn't really see play outside of the random ladder.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Yeah.
okay. Wow. What is this?
Origin form Dialga, 120 HP steel type. So the counterpart to origin form Palkia. Time mash. Maybe they forgot an S here, maybe not. So 3 energies, 2 steel types, one colorless. Flip a coin. If tails during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know about this one. Why would you ever want to run this instead of Arceus or even Heatran? Yeah, it's just I don't know. It looks cool. I like the name. I like the art.
Yeah.
Am I gonna play this card? Yeah, probably not.
All right. What do we have next? Ah.
So
Oh
yes,
no.
the
Oh
best card.
no. Yeah, I
The
mean,
be-
probably a card that not only will define the meta, but when your opponent plays it, you'll probably just concede.
Right, yeah. So Giratina, dragon type. At least they made a dragon, right? No weakness.
What is this
This is
card?
who knows? Who knows? So three energy, one grass, one psychic, one colorless. Discard two from this Pokemon and three retreat.
Two
Bruh,
random energy, right? I mean,
yeah,
what is there supposed to be a grass deck that plays Gardevoir that
exactly.
we don't know
Who
about?
knows? Who knows? I think the devs are trolling us because everybody and their mom was like, "Oh yeah, guys, they're gonna give us Giratina EX for sure, for sure. It's the counterpart to Dialga and Palkia. Get ready for Giratina EX." And then the devs are like, "There you go. Have Provopass EX and have regular type Giratina."
This
Yeah,
is one of the worst
it's
cards
like
I've
a
seen.
yeah, it's like an April Fools before April.
Well,
Yeah.
we can move on from
All
this
right.
one. I mean, it's we could just sit here and laugh for ages, but it
Yeah,
makes no sense.
exactly. It won't make it better the more we talk about it.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
so moving on to our normal types. So we've got an Eevee, a new Eevee,
Yep.
60 HP. It's got Tail Whap for 30. That costs 2 colorless. Ouch. This is probably the worst Eevee, no?
Probably the worst. Yeah. I
It,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. There is one that does like a tail whip, if I remember, but even that one is better.
I
So
still think the continuous steps Eevee is the best. I mean, I've definitely rolled 3 heads and killed their basic with that one
yeah,
quite a few
yeah,
times.
100%, 100%.
So
Yeah,
this card is legitimately unplayable in my opinion.
yeah.
All
There's
right.
just no reason to play it for sure.
Okay. Speaking of likely unplayable, Snorlax. So 140 HP for 4 energy, colorless energy. You can collapse for 100, but then it puts itself to sleep. It's also got 4 energy retreat cost. Ouch.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same as Giratina. The devs were trolling with this one. They gave us a worse Snorlax than the genetic Apex Snorlax. It has the same, I mean, it has more damage, but it puts itself to sleep.
It makes no
So
sense to me.
it makes no sense to me. Yeah, same retreat cost, same weakness, uh, 10 less HP. I mean, yeah, it's hopefully I mean, I like the full art Snorlax from the genetic Apex as a collector,
Yeah, yeah.
but outside of that, yeah, I'm sad. They gave our boy Snorlax a
So
bad treatment.
obviously Barry works with this card, so you can
True.
do 2 colorless for 100. I to me that's still,
Yep.
you know, and Cashew's saying here I saw someone play it with Barry, sorry, and
Mhm.
Lumberry. That's 3 bad cards to make one slightly decent thing happen. I can't get behind it, you know.
That's true. That's true. I mean, if Barry was like a continuous effect
Right,
and you
right.
like activate it for the rest of the game, then yeah, go ahead. Like, but if it only activates during one turn, so
You're using up your valuable trainer to
that's true.
do that.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Next we have Hoot Hoot. So, you know, bread and butter again, 60 HP, colorless for Peck, weak to lightning, not great in a Magnezone world. Has
Mhm.
1 retreat. But let's check out Noctowl. I think this is a cool card here. It's our first sort of look at the opponent hand effect that's actually good
Yep.
because it's attached to 50 damage, excuse me. So it's a 100
Mhm.
HP stage 1 for 2 colorless silent wing, 50 damage, and your opponent reveals their hand. Only 1
Yep.
retreat. So yeah, I
Yep.
mean, I don't think this is playable, don't get me wrong, but it does set a precedent. If imagine a good basic that just kind of 60 HP hit for 10 and you looked at their hand. That could change the way
Mhm.
you play the rest of that game.
Yep.
So this
Uh,
sets a precedent for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I like the one retreat cost.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think Persian was maybe one as well. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely a cool effect. And but it goes back to what we were saying earlier that knowing your opponent's hand doesn't actually prevent him from using all his hand. So yeah, it's unless I
yeah.
guess if you pair it with red card and Mars, that's cool. But outside of that, yeah, I'm not sure
It
if these
helps
cards.
if someone plays two different artworks,
Yeah.
then you know, right? Like, so let's say they have a rainbow Articuno and
Hmm.
a regular one, and you've seen
Yep.
their hand. You can keep track of what's still in their hand. But it's
Yep.
like you said, it's just the bigger. Okay, so we don't have instant speed interaction in this game, and that's why looking at the
Hmm.
opponent's hand isn't that strong of an effect. If card,
Yep.
let's take blue as an example. If blue could be played like an instant from Magic or a trap card from Yu-Gi-Oh, where your opponent attacks, and now I throw my blue out, and all of a sudden, oh, my good, my best laid plans have been thwarted. It would
Hmm.
be a lot better to see your opponent's hand and know they have the blue. But they just have
Hmm.
to play the blue on their turn, and now you just have all that information on the board in the first place.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I would love looking at the opponent's hand to be more relevant, but yeah, it's just like you said, you know.
Yeah, it's yeah. Hopefully, I mean, once we get better discard cards, it's gonna see more play. But
Yeah,
until
right,
then,
right.
mm.
All
um,
right.
do you want to do the giveaway right away? I just need a quick break just to hit the
Yeah,
uh, yeah, yeah, and yeah, you can do the giveaway now, and then we'll pick up right off where we left off, and that gives us like a little 2 minutes for a little break. What do you think?
I'm so down with that. So all
Perfect.
right, if you're after a
I'll let you
McDonald's
to it. Yeah.
code, yeah, you're gonna type exclamation point triumphant into the chat, okay? So exclamation point triumphant, and yeah, you did hear giveaway. Exclamation point triumphant in the chat, okay? That'll enter you into the giveaway. So I'll type it now, just like that. Hopefully this works. I think it does work worldwide. I believe you could only get access to the code by ordering a McDonald's Happy Meal in America, but anyone can use the code. And the instructions for doing that will be on um, the picture that I'll send you. All right.
All right, ready to pick up where we left off.
Yeah, Cashew, are you trying to get in on this?
I think it's something important to note that it's only available for U.S. citizens. I'm not sure if people abroad can use the code. Maybe they can.
I think they can. I think you can only get the code by ordering a Happy Meal in
Yeah,
America, but I believe any account.
that
Because
would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense.
you don't get anything from McDonald's, by the way. All you get is a code you put into your Pocket account, and then you'll get the free hourglasses. Ooh. Chat's talking about their Ursi decks. We've got some Darkrai Magnezone being played.
Nice.
Yeah, it's for Pocket. You don't. It's not like a McDonald's coupon code. It's yeah, $2 off some nuggies. Yeah, it's a code that you basically send to the support for Pocket, and they will add these rewards to your account. All right, so it looks like we've got Kirin, Koosh, Cashew going in for the code. I'm gonna roll a D3. So we'll assign a number to everyone. So Koosh, you'll be 1, Cash will be 2, and Kirin will be 3, okay? All right, I'm rolling this die. What did I say? Koosh 1, Cash 2, Kirin 3. It's a 2! All right, Cash, congrats. So we can whisper on Twitch, and I'll sort you out with that code, okay? But yeah, you get 24 pack hourglasses, and I believe it's 12 Wonder Pick glasses. So, a couple free boosties there. What are you gonna play in the Ursi?
I'll probably be playing Charizard.
Yeah,
We can look at the metagame real quick and we'll pick up. I'm just curious to see how many people are playing grass.
I just posted my
Um,
Discord name, Cash, so you can
Perfect,
you can
perfect.
add me there. I'll send you the code there. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are attracted to Leafeon right
Mm-hmm.
now. So I think Charizard's a good shout from a meta
Yep,
perspective.
yep.
I think
Well,
Crobat will be played a lot. I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, yeah. All right, so should we pick up where we left off?
Yeah. We got Starly. So 60 HP, glide for 20. I don't remember exactly the rate on the last Starly, but this is not looking as good to me. I believe the last one has that pluck effect, right? That removes a
Hmm.
tool.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it deals 10 and it removes a tool, which is a much better effect. And outside of this, the electric weakness is pretty standard. So yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, still, the fact that
Yep.
you have another Starly to then evolve into, we'll get to them right now. I think arguably a better line for the
Hmm.
Staravia
Yep.
crew.
100%.
So here's the basic one, or the stage one, excuse me. It's Staravia, 80 HP, one colorless for wing attack, and it's got one
Hmm.
retreat. So wing attack does 30 here. So what do you
Yep.
remember what the other Staravia does? Is this an improvement
Uh,
or
I I don't remember, but it does look like a copy paste of Pidgeotto. Same HP, same damage, one retreat. It's pretty standard stuff. We can look up the Staravia
yeah, yeah.
before. Uh, it had 40 for 2 energy and 1 retreat. So this is kind of a
Okay.
better version. Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
improved Staravia for sure.
Yeah. I like that.
Mhm.
And then let's check out a card that I actually think could see play.
Yep.
It's going to be Staraptor, the new Staraptor. So this is a stage 2. It's got a whopping 150 HP. That's a
Hmm.
number. That's
Yep.
a number there. The 3 colorless Brave Bird deals 130. Wow.
Hmm. Hmm.
These are some big numbers here. It also does 20
Yep.
to itself, and you can retreat for 2 colorless. Well,
Hmm.
what's your
Hmm.
first impression of this card? I mean, this is like a Magnezone.
Yeah, my first impression, I'd say the first thing that comes to mind is Arcanine EX, right?
Mm-hmm.
That starts at 150 and then damages itself to 130, and it does almost the same damage for 3 energies and 2 retreat. This one is a stage 2. Um, Honestly, I think its power will just comes from Barry. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah. Barry brings this down to 1 energy for 130. So, you can lead with something else, build this on the bench, and then, at the end come with this and just attack for 130 as a finisher. Outside of that,
It's
yeah.
also a one prize point
Hmm.
only.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
is, yeah.
Yeah,
So, Yeah.
Unfortunately, colorless attacks don't deal. They don't have a weakness that they can attack,
Hmm.
and I think
Yep.
that's something to think about. But
Absolutely. Yep.
Kangaskhan lead with this seems good. Yeah, I mean, I really,
Hmm.
I think Barry is trying to push a colorless deck here on us,
Yep.
and
Yep.
this to me, this is the card that really, really benefits the most from Barry. Heracross, okay.
Yep. Yep.
Snorlax, we don't need to talk about that one anymore. This
Yeah.
though, wow. I mean,
Yeah. I
130.
agree. Yeah, I do. I agree. This is probably the card that people are gonna build Barry around. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. Once I pull it, I'll probably try it myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. What else do we have in the colorless realm? There's obviously a big one coming up. You know, everyone's hyped for
Mm.
us to talk about.
Yeah.
Before we get
Absolutely.
there, though, we have another incredibly interesting card here.
Yep.
Shaman. So it's a
Yep.
basic with 70 HP. Its ability is Sky Support. So as long as the Pokemon is on your bench, that's very
Hmm.
important. Your active basic
Yep.
Pokemon's retreat cost is one less. Two colorless for Flap that deals 30. Again, not really the reason you're playing it, is it? It's weak to
No.
fire and it has one retreat cost. When you saw this card, MSD, did you think that's going to see play?
Yep.
Because I did.
Um. Uh. I wasn't really sure about it. But I definitely agree with you. It should probably see play. Um. Yeah. Uh. Hard. I really like the effect it has. I think a lot of people that played X speed are gonna play this instead.
Yeah, yeah.
And without like if you were running two X speeds, you can probably run one Shaman instead, and that frees up a slot. It does clog up one slot on your bench, so
Yes,
that's
and your
kind of the only.
Pokeballs. You know,
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
necessarily the best card to be Pokeballing into. Again, when I saw it, I thought
100%.
this will see play. Now that I've played against it a few times yesterday,
Hmm.
my opinion on it dropped. I
Yeah,
Yeah, when they started with it in the active spot, especially, ouch.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. It really needs what it needs is more HP, right? Like I thought
Yeah.
about taking it into like Charizard Moltres, to allow Moltres to retreat after one energy, but it still gets one shot by a high rolling Executor. So yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, it needed more HP and it needed the effect to apply to itself, and it would have been a whole
Yes.
nother game.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
I think ultimately it's a cool design and a cool effect. And I think a lot of
yep,
people are going to try it and then, because it looks playable and
yep,
because it's such a unique effect, and then they're going to quickly realize I might
yep,
be able to be doing better things here. You know,
100%. Yep.
it dilutes your Pokeball. It's probably one of the worst Pokemon to have in the active spot, just getting ripped
Agreed.
into. It's
Yep.
easy to bring back out and kill with a Cyrus. Like you said, it doesn't have enough HP.
Hmm.
And again, weak to lightning, which
Yep.
is relevant. Relevant these
It
days. I mean,
is.
it
It
dies to
is
a
relevant. Yep.
Magneton spinning attack, which
Hmm.
that comes
Hmm.
up. Sometimes I win a game off the Magneton. You don't need to go full blown Magnezone.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, we'll have to see.
yeah. I still think, you know, it's a card to me that could be a seed for future sets as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Uh, I think it's great for future sets. We'll have to see what people combine it with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if you're running Arceus and Heatran, it already has no retreat cost, so there's no point adding this.
Yeah.
Carnivine has one retreat cost, so it's fine if you discard an energy. I just haven't found a proper home yet, but I think it will eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Before we get to the card everyone's buzzing about, we're going to start with its baby form here.
Yep.
So we've got Arceus for 120 HP. You're getting a Pokemon that's weak to fighting, of course, 2 retreat cost, and for 4 colorless, oh my, Power Blast, 100, discard a random energy. I mean, my first
Yep.
thought when I see this card is you're just playing this as a third Arceus. You're
Yep,
playing
pretty
the
much.
2x and you're playing this as a third one to make sure you're turning on your link cards.
Hmm.
It's terrible in the opening slot. Its attack is essentially, I would argue, useless. When are you going to be
Yep,
doing that? You know?
yep. I mean, it's cool that they gave a version to everybody, right? From
Mm-hmm.
the quests or yeah, I think they're quests.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so that people can like play the things that they drew. But outside of that, yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure how this would see play. Yeah,
Cash
yeah.
says, I feel like
Cashew
it'll
in
be
the
used
chat
as a
says,
Drud. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
we
I
both saw
agree.
that. I mean,
Yeah,
it is. It
you can
is.
slap a helmet on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's ultimately, its main role is to give you more Arceus,
Yep.
not
Big time.
to really do anything in terms
Hmm.
of attacking, in terms of it doesn't even really tank that well. I mean, I still think I'd
Yep.
rather have a
It
Drud.
doesn't. Yep. Agreed.
All
So
right,
yeah, we're gonna have to see.
bang. Here he is.
Arceus, there he is, the big boy.
This is the card everyone's buzzing about. Obviously, it's opened up, at least for now, loads of new archetypes in the meta.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's so let me read it out. Arceus
Yep.
EX, 140 HP, ability Fabled Luster. This Pokemon can't be
Hmm.
affected by any special conditions. And Ultimate Force for 3 colorless. You do 70 plus. It does 20 more for each Pokemon on your bench. So we're looking at
Hmm.
an attack that scales between 70 and 130. It's got 2
Hmm.
retreat and it's weak to fighting.
Yep.
Wow. I mean,
Yep.
you talked
It's
about power creeping Pikachu, didn't you, earlier?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. And not only that, it's like yes, power creeping Pikachu, but they just power crept Heatran, they power crept Yanmega, they power crept a whole bunch of stuff with this card, being a basic and hitting for 130 tops, right? With a full bench is absolutely like bananas, right? And yes, like not only does it activate the other cards, right? The ability Fabled Luster for a basic is actually really important. How many times did you get your fully evolved Pokemon or your basic trapped in the active by a sleep or a paralysis, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of times, and then you lost the game, right? Because you couldn't retreat or you couldn't evolve it, right? So the Fabled Luster, like people are overlooking it, but it's super strong in itself.
No, it's a brilliant
So
effect. I
yeah.
think it's easy to overlook it because it's you know, a lot of people underrate status effects, or maybe underrate's the
Hmm.
wrong word. I think it's more that we don't have many powerful cards yet that give status
Yep.
effects.
Yep.
And you see a card like this and you say, well, that's fine. I mean, no one's really sleeping me, poisoning me, but no, those things will come up. And when they
Yep.
do, you'll be laughing when you've got Fabled
Yeah.
Luster.
100%. Yep.
And people will forget
So.
about Fabled Luster. They'll try
Mhm.
to, gas leak this with a wheezing, and then they'll be clicking the game. What went wrong? You know,
Yep. Yep.
this card's. So, okay, let's talk about this from a game design perspective. You have
Hmm.
to be careful as a card designer when you put a normal type EX into the game. Because if it's
Absolutely.
too good, all decks will homogenize toward it because it can be put into
Yep.
simply anything. Are we seeing that
Hmm.
already?
Um, I think, I mean, I think this is, yeah, we'll start seeing it for sure with Arceus. Tauros was kind of like its predecessor, right? Where people started teching into a lot of things because it was a strong colorless basic, and Arceus is just a level up from that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see. I definitely think it's really strong, and the pairings are really strong. So yeah, excited to play more of it. If you look at the current Ursidae metagame, Dialga Arceus is the most played deck today in
Interesting.
Ursidae. Yeah, I'm not sure if people looked at the win rates and they saw something that maybe we weren't aware of.
Hmm.
I don't see how it's really strong, but I have yet to play against it, so I'm excited for that.
I think the reason that's happened, also, what's up, Light? I think the
Hmm.
reason that's happened is it is arguably the most obvious thing to do because you get to put that 2 energy on Arceus.
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
you when it comes in, you can immediately ultimate force.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I agree with you. at the end of the day, I just think Dialga's too slow. And I think
Yep.
things like Carnivine are going to be a lot stronger with this card ultimately.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited. Yeah, sorry, I'm excited to try it out. Maybe you can try it out after and let me know what you think. But um, yeah, Cashlu like with a really cool suggestion here. The ability, if you put energy on it, it changes to the type of energy you put on it. Wouldn't that be cool?
that would be.
Right? That would be really cool. I
And
think
that's
that would be a
sort of
cool
like
effect.
how it plays out in the games, isn't it? Where you have the
Exactly,
plates.
exactly.
Hmm.
And not only that, I guess Moltres would work in that situation, right? So how,
Oh
yeah, it'd be
yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it would be the basic that Fire was praying to get pretty much, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
So
interesting
we'll
that Cash. That's a good shout. I mean, I
yeah, absolutely.
Fabled Luster. I see what you mean by boring now compared to what could have been. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. They could have gotten more creative with it for sure.
I know when that little ad leaked and I saw this card, I thought, hmm, is this amazing? But now that I've played with
Yep.
it, I have no doubt it is. And
Yep. Yep.
I think people are going to try all sorts of. They're going to try all the different link cards, aren't they? And then they're
Hmm.
going
Hmm.
to eventually settle on likely Crobat and Carnivine.
Yep.
That would be my
Yep.
guess.
I agree.
Yeah, Dialga Arceus. That's very interesting. I'm surprised that that would be the go-to over Crobat, but
Hmm. Hmm.
to each their own.
Yeah, because if you look, Crobat is like 2% and Dialga Arceus is like 15, 17%, or maybe like 12%. That's crazy. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to play against Crobat again, so I'm kind of happy about
I
that.
know it's misery. Well,
Yeah, it is.
another thing
It's
about these
terrible.
early metas. Let's just throw this out there. One, a lot of people
Yeah.
don't have all the cards yet. I was lucky to pull two of every card when I did
Hmm.
my pulls yesterday. And
Yep.
two, so I'm lucky, but a lot of people aren't in that position. Two
Yep.
is we don't know the meta yet.
Yeah, we don't.
And like I said, I think Dialga Arceus was just the most. When I was reading the reveal thread, a lot of people
Hmm.
were saying, "Oh, Dialga Arceus." So I think that makes sense. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe we're
Yeah.
missing something, mate. Maybe they're gonna. Maybe that deck's gonna smash it. So
We'll see. We'll see.
if there's enough
Uh,
people playing it, someone will sneak through with it. you
yeah,
know.
most likely. Most likely. Yeah, I think there's something going on. There wouldn't be as many people playing it if there wasn't something we were missing,
Hmm.
about it. So yeah, we'll see.
All right.
Um,
What do we
all
got
right.
next? We're moving into my favorite kind of card. These are the
Hmm.
trainers. I love
Yep.
these cards. I love seeing what they do. Let's start with our first one here. It's Irida. So it's a
Hmm.
trainer. You can heal 40 damage from each. That is
Yep.
huge here. Each of your Pokemon that
Yep.
has a water energy attached.
That's big. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
So you could heal up to 160 with this
Hmm.
card.
Yep. That's
like,
that's crazy, honestly. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's like a better Erica. Yeah.
it's
In the sense
insane.
that, yeah, it's not type locked, right? The
Hmm.
way Erica is.
Hmm.
Uh, it can target several Pokemon in the same turn, and it only heals less than Erica. Like, wow. And that's just crazy to me. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean, Charizard stocks are on the rise because of this, right? Like,
Yeah,
you need Pokemon that are able to one shot in this format, just because there's so much healing. There's too much healing. Every card in the game can heal with Irida if you're running Manaphy or if you're running Water Energy. So yeah, yeah. There you go. One shot cards. Stonks are on the rise.
I think, yeah. Is it overdone with the 40 HP? I mean, 30 would have still been incredible.
Yep.
20? That would be a potion for all your water Pokemon.
Yep.
I mean, even at 20, it would probably see play.
Yep. Yep.
I
We'll
think
have to see.
Articuno decks are
Yep.
going to get a massive boost from this card. 18 trainer Articuno decks. They've just given them an Erica.
Yep.
It didn't need
Absolutely.
it.
Yep.
It didn't. It was good already.
It did not. Yeah. So we're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see. What can I say?
We've seen the all grass deck, Leafeon and Celebi, that only runs water energy. and uses
Mhm.
Leafeon to generate grass, and then
Yep.
heals with this. It is cool. I'll tell you that. It's an
Yep.
interesting
Yep.
card from a design perspective in that it's like you said, it's not type locked. That
Yep.
was that was massive. Yeah, Mega. Really, any colorless decks can just run water energy, like a Barry deck
Mhm.
can run a
Yep.
water energy and run Irida.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's wow. I mean,
Crazy. Yeah, crazy.
Arceus
Yeah,
works with this if you're running it in a water deck.
absolutely. Uh, yeah, just bananas. It's a bananas card. I don't know what more to say. 18 trainer, Articuno just got a huge buff. Um, yeah,
If
Even Dragonite got a
yeah,
buff. Like,
tell you what, if
right?
Cyrus annoyed you,
Yeah,
whew,
yeah.
this card will get you. So I mean, this is. Oh, you know what? What was one thing everyone was clamoring for? Was a Cyrus
Hmm.
counter. This
Yep.
arguably is
Yep.
that.
It is. It is in a sense. It does come with a lot of like criterias.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but in a sense, it is a Cyrus counter. Yes. So yeah. Um, Crazy. I'm excited to play it. I'm gonna add it. I did get two, so I'm gonna add it to my Articuno, Manaphy, Palkia deck. I'm not sure I have room for two, but definitely a one of.
Yeah,
It's
right.
really strong. Yeah.
Last night,
And
I
yeah, go
sleeved
ahead.
up the Articuno X deck 18 trainer and I threw two of this in right before bed. And I just won 3 games so easily.
Sick.
And I just went to
Yeah.
bed. I thought, uh-oh. That was my. And like you were bringing up the ranked climb earlier,
Yeah.
that's going to be the
Yeah.
deck,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it sucks that they are gonna. I mean, we'll see how the meta evolves. But if the rank comes out tomorrow, everybody's gonna be playing Articuno Trainer, and then they're gonna be playing Pachi as a counter to
Yeah,
Articuno Trainer.
exactly.
And
I
then,
do wonder.
yeah, we'll see.
Well, I do wonder if ranked will end up sort of forcing their hand more on card changes because
Hmm.
at the moment, you've only got the limitless tournaments. And I have no doubt they're paying attention to those and the meta and looking
Yep.
at the winning
Yep.
deck list and saying, okay, what did people do? What did we not see? But
Hmm.
a ranked mode is really going to force them to
Hmm.
potentially revise some of these cards, which they can obviously do, in a
Hmm.
digital card game. They couldn't do that in real life, but they can do it here. So,
Hmm.
not saying that'll happen, but yeah, this
Yeah.
is a card.
It's a card
Whew.
for sure. Yeah. It's crazy.
All right, our next
One
trainer.
last, well, yeah, one last thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You can also run it in like double Irida, double Erica decks, both in Leafeon, Glaceon, like you did, and both in like Leafeon, yeah, and Mega,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, pretty much else anywhere. So you can bring this like oppressive healing to any deck that you want. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was running that, that Glaceon Leafeon brew I sent you, having the two
Hmm.
Irida, two Erica felt just disgusting because it was just exhausting, I'm guessing, for my opponent when every turn I'm putting 40 to 50 HP back on my Pokemon, ignoring
Hmm.
capes and potions. It's so much to get through. It really is. I mean, look, let's take the Articuno X deck as an example here. You,
Yep.
at this point, so it starts with 140 HP. So between two Articunos, you have to deal 280. The two capes
Hmm.
make that 320. Two potions make that 360. And two Iridas make
Hmm.
that 440. So you've got to, if they draw their cards right, you've got to deal 440 damage to destroy the Articuno deck. It's a lot of damage. A
Hmm.
lot. So, yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
It's yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it is. Yeah. Let's see what's next.
Did you get through your first match over there?
Yeah, I did. I did.
What did you get matched
Appreciate.
against?
I just played against a Lucario, Garchomp, two Pseudo Woodos,
Okay.
and it went pretty well. Since I run a lot of double cape and potion and blue for Charizard, I can kind of sweep uh everything after he clears my Moltres, so it went pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0 so far.
Nice. Okay, here we go. Celestic Town Elder. new
Hmm.
trainer, put one random basic Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. I believe this is the first revive style effect we've seen in Pocket. Wow. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
talk about an interesting card. What when you first saw this, did you think whatever, or did you get your deck
I
brewing
really,
juices flowing?
no, I really thought like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't occur to me that this is like a must play in EV decks because even if you run like a double Glaceon, double Leafeon, you need this, uh,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you technically discard the EV once you evolve it. So yeah, I was like, yeah, I didn't think much of it, but I feel like it's a great card. I'm excited to see where else we can take it in. I think it's good design. This
I
card
agree.
and Dawn, it's great design. I feel Irida is like not lazy, but they maybe went a little bit overboard with it.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
cards like this, it like you get a trade-off for adding it to your deck, and it's like a good trade-off, right? But it doesn't feel like it's a must add, or it doesn't feel like you're like cheesing your opponents if you play it. Yeah.
You brought up the Glaceon Leafeon brew I sent over. The actual reason I made that deck was because I pulled a full art Celestic Town Elder, and I thought, all right, well, let's see if what deck would really benefit from this card most. And that's when I landed on Eevee, because I thought
Hmm.
you can take advantage of two evolutions,
Hmm.
and you can recur your first Eevee that dies to then have three evolutions off two Eevees.
Hmm. Hmm.
And is that going to be the best deck ever? I'm not sure, but
We'll
I
have
don't
to
know.
see. Yeah.
I think that it kind of because Eevee's kind of a confusing card in that you can only run two of them in
Yep.
and there's multiple evolutions. Cards
Yep.
like
Yep.
this are allowing you to do that. Now this isn't.
Yep.
I if we ever got a revive as like an item that just said bring a basic Pokemon back from your hand, this is power crept in a second, right? Like,
I agree.
because
Yeah,
I
I
think that's a
agree.
card in the original TCG.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so it makes me wonder how long it'll be till we get that card, if we'll get that card. But yeah,
We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll
yeah,
have to see. And yeah, I'm sure somebody on Reddit is gonna cook up like all the evolution deck. They're gonna add like Flareon, they're gonna add like Vaporeon. They're gonna do all the evolutions and like run two of these and try to get like four on the
hmm
on the board and then post a screenshot of it. That's pretty cool. But yeah, we'll
I
see. We'll see.
I think another type of deck that could benefit from this card would be a deck that is essentially a stage two deck where, and I'm sure you've been in this situation where your basic dies and you're just stuck with your stage one and two cards in hand. This can
Hmm.
bring back that basic and allow you to keep progressing your board forward.
100%. Yeah. Like you can think about Weavile Darkrai, getting the Sneasel back
Yeah.
if you just have the Weavile.
Garchomp,
But it's
not the
kind
new one, but the Reckless Shearing Garchomp. It's without
of, oh
Gibble,
yeah,
they're doomed. You'll
for
be
sure.
able to draw into your Elder quite easily with
Yep.
Reckless
Yeah.
Shearing, and then
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
It's kind of an I guess you could also play it in Executor Celebi, right? Like you need like the second execute. You have the executor, but you don't have the
yeah,
second execute. So you just bring back the execute.
yeah.
Um, yeah. At the same time, like it does the same thing as a communication would do. Uh, Maybe like
Right,
a kind
right.
of like a workaround, right? It's like a different way of using
You'd also be
communication.
making
So
your Pokeball worse because it's more likely to pull a Celebi now over the.
yep,
Well, you're gonna have one in hand, so you know the other one you're
yep,
getting no matter what. Yeah, I don't know, but
yep.
but look at the things we're talking about here. The fact that we're bringing up these niche scenarios, and you know what I mean. This card gets the brew juices flowing. It's like the type of
Yep.
card I wouldn't be surprised if we see a deck that takes advantage of this come out, and we go, "Wow, that's really
Mhm.
strong."
Yeah, yeah, and we didn't think about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, there's definitely some big brain opportunity with this. I'm excited to see what people come up with. I'd like to say I'm creative enough to use it to its max, but maybe I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty smart when I came up with that evolution deck, but again, it is still a niche play in the deck.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just think we're going to we're gonna see this card somewhere. I just have that
Mhm.
feeling like this would be my if I had to make an outside prediction for a card that doesn't like look like it's gonna outright break the meta, but we'll see play some
Yep.
point. It's this one. It's too unique of an effect in the game right now.
Hmm, hmm.
So, and yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a really cool card, and what? Yeah, like you were saying, these are the types of trainers that are awesome, not the ones that just go into every deck. Because those
Yep.
are we can't have too many of them. We can't have too many Sabrinas or Cyruses in the game.
Hmm, hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, let's see what's next.
All right, we've mentioned this card a few times, haven't we? It's Barry. So another
Hmm.
trainer. During this turn, attacks used by your Snorlax, Heracross, and Staraptor cost 2 less colorless energy.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Staraptor is probably the best combo.
Mm-hmm.
Heracross isn't too bad. It is a basic. You get to attack for one energy, but once again, and you can still use Erica on Heracross too. But yeah, I mean, if it lasted like 2 turns, it would be like busted. Because then you can attack with Snorlax for 100, like for 4 turns in a row, and you can Lumberry the Snorlax and stuff. I mean, it's
Yeah,
kind of memey, but yeah. But 1 turn is nice, but I don't think it's gonna be that great. I mean, if they
mm,
imagine if they reprint Snorlax or they reprint Heracross, or they reprint the Raptor, like sure.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, we'll keep an eye on it.
yeah,
This is something that can come back in future formats and take us by surprise.
yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I still at some point I imagine we'll get a playable Snorlax because it's
I
such a
agree,
fan
hopefully.
favorite.
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing for me is there's so many good trainers in the game, and I'm not sure this is what I want to be spending my one trainer return on.
yep, 100%.
Like you mentioned earlier, if this was a effect that lasted until you like retreated the Pokemon or until it died, we're cooking. But
Yeah, we're cooking. Yeah.
I let me ask you a question, the closest we'll get to a philosophical question in the world of Pocket. what? Why does Brock only work with a couple cards? Why does Barry only work with a few cards? And Lieutenant
Yeah.
Surge only work, but Misty works with every water card.
Yeah. That's a really good question. I'm not sure what they were thinking about that. I mean, fighting has been waiting for expansions for energy support, energy
Mm-hmm.
generation, and yeah, we're just gonna wait one more, I guess, at this point. So yeah, I mean, Misty has like a downside to it, and Brock doesn't, right? Like, yes, the upside is huge with Misty, but the downside is pretty bad. So it kind of makes sense that
Yes,
they made it more universal. Brock, the consistency of Brock would have been too strong if they didn't limit it to a couple
I
cards.
agree. It's basically
Yeah.
just take an extra turn.
Yeah, take an extra turn, and you would also include it everywhere. Like if Misty is included everywhere, you can bet for sure Brock would have been included anywhere. So it would have just made fighting lists have like
It'd be
six
14 card
cards.
decks. Exactly. They're 14
Yeah,
card decks at
exactly.
that point.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that is the danger, like I've been saying, with these trainers that are too good. You know, when it's
Hmm.
Sabrina, you know, you could argue we already are in a 14 card meta because you're running two at least of Sabrina or Cyrus in most decks.
Yep,
You'd be
yep.
mental not to. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, Cash was talking about, you know, going back to what was the last card? The Elder. You know, if you play
Hmm.
Arceus and you have two cards on the bench, you can bring a basic back. Yeah, it's good with the
Hmm.
Pikachu and the Arceus type of
Yep,
cards. Definitely.
yep,
Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a card that can definitely come back to haunt us in a
for sure.
later set. You know?
Yep.
Okay, we
So
got
I
one
think we
more
have
card.
one left.
Yeah.
Yeah, one left.
It's
And this
definitely an
one,
intriguing card, I think.
yep, yep. It did fly under the radar, and it's still flying under the radar. Maybe, maybe Dialga Arceus is running it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
actually check the list, but Um, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So yeah, it's
It's a
Adaman, it's a trainer,
yeah.
and during your opponent's next turn, all of your metal Pokemon take -20 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. So it's a blue,
Mhm.
doesn't affect everything, but it makes up for that in that it's 20 rather than 10.
Yep, yep. So yeah, I mean, it is a better blue. It applies to all your Pokemon. It doesn't, just like blue, it doesn't prevent damage from abilities. So Glaceon, Darkrai, Greninja, all that
Yeah,
goes through
yeah,
it. Um, because it's from attacks, right? So that kind of limits it.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure, like, right? So you have Adaman, which only applies this effect for one turn, and then they come out with Irida, which is like double the effect. And not only does it lingers, right? It's like
yeah.
it it heals your Pokemon. It's not just this turn. Like it heals your Pokemon, and that damage doesn't go away. So I'm not sure what they were thinking
Hmm.
about releasing Irida and Adamant. Like you have like the same set, and you release cards that are comparable, and one is strictly better than the other one. Weird. I don't know. But I guess they just love water, man. Like they love grass, they love
Yeah.
water. They have the devs have favorites. What can we do?
Yeah, I mean, Irida, Erica, I think we might be heading into a water grass world with the triumphant light
Yep.
meta. Once it shakes out, I
Yep.
wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah, I mean, this card does combo well already with quite a few metal cards, like, Probopass already taking less damage. Mel Metal's
Mhm.
already taking less damage. That could be quite annoying when you're stacking an Adaman on top of that.
Mhm.
But, again, Charizard is one-shotting those, regardless of Adaman. It's taking up a deck slot. It's a trainer blocking you from maybe
Mhm.
professors researching that turn. Um, I still think it'll see play though
Yep.
in the decks that
Yep.
want it.
I think so. I think so. We'll have to see. Does I mean the sad stuff is Probopass. Cashman mentioned Probopass, which I do think is a decent card, but even with Adaman, it it doesn't survive a Charizard shot. Let me see if it survives it with Cape and Adaman,
I
but
think
that's
it
just
does with
you're just
Cape.
stacking so many cards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Probo.
Yeah, when you're getting
So
to
let's
the
see. It's
three cards at once realm, when there's
yeah,
so many cards that are good on their
yeah,
own, you're in trouble.
yeah. Actually, I'm just looking at it now, and because of the weakness, it doesn't survive.
Hmm.
Because of the weakness, it goes Charizard hits it for 220, and then yeah, it doesn't survive even if you stack everything on it. So I don't know. Um, yeah, Irida is just the better card, sadly.
Yeah. Irida's the trainer from this set, the
Yep,
one that's going to
yep,
make the biggest splash.
agreed. So yeah, I think we went through everything. Do you want to go through like top three arts that you enjoy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that Pikachu is up there for sure. Let me bring that one
Hmm.
back up. I think that's such a cute artwork. And I don't have access to the promo Maril, but that one was amazing.
Hmm.
When I pulled that, I just thought, oh, that is the
Hmm.
cutest thing ever.
Yeah, it's really cute. Yeah, so
Houndoom,
you got Pikachu and Marill. Do
ooh,
you have a third one? Yeah.
Houndoom's a shout. The promo Houndoom looks so cool. Like,
Yep, yep.
definitely one of the cooler
I agree.
cards.
Yeah, if I had to do a top three as well, I'd probably do Garchomp, the rainbow one.
Oh yeah, I pulled
Like it
that
looks
last
so
night,
cool.
and I just was staring at it for a moment. Where it's fighting Arceus, isn't it,
Yeah,
in the artwork?
it is. It is. It's taking on the big boss. It's taking on the final boss. So yeah, lots of aura coming from that card. And I think my second is probably Leafeon and third Houndoom. So
I
love the
like the
arts on
rainbow.
the rainbow Leafeon.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
rainbow
rainbow
Leafeon.
Leafeon looks really
So
cute. She's just.
let's try and make a prediction here on the
Hmm.
top five cards from Triumphant Light.
Yep.
What are we thinking here? Let me bring up some text. We'll make a little list on the side,
Yep.
and we'll try and put them in. We'll try and put them in order, and
Sure. Yep.
see how we do here. See if we can predict the future, so to speak. So Let me move this list here. So what's your shout for number one?
It's hard. It's hard to decide. Hmm. I don't think Leafeon or Glaceon should take number one. I think Arceus and Carnivine look really good. Heatran looks really good. Um,
I think as good as Arceus
yeah.
X is, I think for me it's going to be Irida.
Mm-hmm. I have to follow you on this one. Yeah, I think Irida is probably the strongest card in the deck.
Yeah.
Um, even though like the decks that I play, like Charizard, kind of ignore it, but everything else is just yeah against it. It's just really hard to deal with. And then second, for me, it has to be Arceus. I
Yeah.
think Arceus, the versatility it provides, is just unmatched. And yeah, the fact that it's a basic and can hit for 130 with
Mm-hmm.
3 damage, that's probably the highest a basic has ever reached, right? So you have a Tauros that did 120 to EXs, but Arceus doesn't have that condition for 3 damage. So yeah, absolutely crazy card. For three, I don't know, man. I think people are sleeping on Carnivine. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know, but it's either Carnivine or Crobat for me, and number three. Um, yeah, either Carnivine or Crobat, and then probably Leafeon as fourth, and I don't know. I'll have to think about the fifth one.
So if we have Carnivine at 3 and Leafeon X as 4, I think
Yeah,
Crobat's a good shout at 5.
for sure. Five or even above Leafeon. Yeah, I'd put Crobat maybe above Leafeon.
Yeah.
But that's just a personal preference thing.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if Leafeon
Yeah.
is more played actually, but
Yep.
and I think the biggest reason why is Leafeon is spawning archetypes. You would say
Mhm.
Leafeon is
Mhm.
third. Yeah, I might put Leafeon actually a bit higher.
Mhm.
Because it's going to spawn new archetypes and it also has an effect that we know how powerful it is. Look at Gardevoir.
Yep.
Look
Yep.
at look at a Magneton. Generating energy is no
Mhm.
joke. I think we should move Leafeon X to 3.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that, and we can put the other two lower.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah. I think Crobat above Carnivine, since
Yeah.
Carnivine is the slept one. So let's put Carnivine in fifth. But that's personal. You can change it for something else.
Yeah.
I'm just really excited to play Carnivine.
It felt amazing yesterday to play Carnivine.
Mhm. Mhm.
It
Mhm.
felt so powerful and
Yep.
quick. And
Yeah, because
two-shotting
yeah.
Darkrai is such a big deal.
Yeah, and not only that, you two-shot the new Gibble, right? You
Mm-hmm.
two-shot like all of the fighting types that have grass weakness. So yeah, no, I think I'm excited. I'm definitely gonna be trying Carnivine, Arceus, Magnezone once I get the
I know.
Carnivines and the
I think I
Arceus.
might sleeve that up right now and play some games for
Hmm.
fun. You know,
Yep.
we got Giratina
We put
75. Ooh,
I agree. Yeah.
that card
Yeah.
is hilarious. I mean, even if it didn't discard 2 energy randomly, it would still be dreadful. That's the funniest part.
Yep. Yep.
I don't get it. Like I said, what does it go well with? Nothing. I mean, what's interesting is that all the dragons we've seen so far, Dragonite, Garchomp, they've they've been very powerful, but at a cost. In that you have to have
Yep.
gone dual energy, and
Yep.
you there is a high risk high reward thing going on there. What is that with Giratina? There isn't one. It's literally
Yeah.
high risk,
There's
no reward.
no reward. Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah, I
Awesome.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that wraps it up. Yeah. We can, if anybody in the chat has any other discussion points, we can go over it. But yeah,
Yeah, if anyone
I
wants to
think that's
throw out
a pretty comprehensive review.
some quick
Yeah.
questions or anything, maybe even
Yeah.
thoughts on where the meta might go, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
For anyone listening on
And
Spotify who's enjoyed this, please give us a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. And if
mhm.
you're watching on YouTube, drop a like. We also really appreciate that. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to revisit the list that we just made and see
Exactly.
if our predictions are worth anything.
I think Carnivine is the card that most people haven't realized how good it is yet. Probably because they haven't pulled it.
I agree. Yeah.
You know.
And also like, Skarmory, it took Skarmory like 2 weeks to actually like
Mm-hmm.
come into the meta, right? It was there from the start, but it just people really focus on the EXs and building stuff around the EXs. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, one thing for sure is I know a lot of people saw Skarmory and said, "Oh wow, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna throw that in a fossil deck with Bastiodon." I'm not a fossil person myself. I'm really not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I until we
Yeah.
get a card that's basically Pokeball for fossils, you won't see me playing them. I've tried, and I bash my head against the wall. I think anyone who's playing tournament level has tried those decks and said, okay, when it works, it's great, but the 80% of the time it doesn't work is a
Yeah.
nightmare. So
Agreed.
it's
All right. Yeah.
it's how it is. So
Perfect. So yeah, appreciate you setting this up.
yeah,
You're the one who came up with the idea. It's been a lot of fun. I think we touched a lot of points, and yeah, we had a lot of insightful points. So appreciate you. Thank you for setting this up, and everybody in the chat. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate all of you.
yeah,
Yeah,
we should tie it into a tournament. Yeah, I think if we casted a tournament, that would be sick.
that'd be sick.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
applied to be an organizer on Limitless. It's taking
Mhm.
ages for them to do the request. So,
Oh, I didn't even know you had to go through an application process.
hmm
Yep,
I'd love for them
very
to
cool.
to get it done because you know, be awesome.
Yep,
But
yep.
yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, and yeah, getting that insight, just bouncing stuff off each other. It's been so cool, and a lot of these cards, we're going to use that phrase bread and butter. I think a lot.
Mhm.
We just kind of move through them, but there's definitely some interesting cards. I think Elder, a Bomber Snow, Heat Ran. These are cards that are niche, but they're gonna affect games, and we're gonna be
Yep,
playing against them. So you're gonna want to learn how to play against those cards for sure.
100%. Yep. All right. So,
Yeah,
do you want to? Are you gonna keep the stream going? Do you want to do a raid?
I think we should do a raid. Who do you think I should raid
Perfect.
here?
I don't know. Anybody? Kronos is cool. He usually raids back if you raid him, so it'd be worth it to give him a raid.
Yeah, yeah. Let me
The cool caster too.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Let's do that. We can move in
yeah.
there and tell him we just did a set
Perfect.
review.
Yep. And for anybody that wants to tune in, I'll probably take like a 5-10 minute break, and then we'll get the MST streaming going too to play Ursa. So yeah.
Yeah, it's good luck to everyone in the Earth today. Unfortunately, I can't compete in it myself, but um, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm going to be streaming tournaments all day long. So, and then I Saturday is the Hooglandia
That's
Spraggles
right.
Open. You ready for that one, mate? That's going to
Yeah,
be
I'm excited.
crazy.
I haven't seen it in the limitless list yet of tournaments. Did they post it already,
I
or
don't
am I?
think it's yeah. I didn't look myself, but
Okay, okay, okay.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
going
it's
to
gonna be
be
fun. I'm
huge.
excited. Yeah, and the co-cast together. They're actually it's a great. They co-cast really well together, so I'm
I
excited.
I I thought their coverage was amazing, and in fact, that's why I wanted to bring you on here for the set review because I'm watching your stream and like the little discussions we'd had in the chat. I could tell, like, yeah, this person knows their pocket, and they definitely do.
Appreciate you.
So
Appreciate you. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, it was a great time. Seriously, again, for those Spotify listeners, please drop a review if you have the time. Anyone on YouTube, click that like button, and we will see you next time. All right, let me do this raid.
Perfect.
Yeah, so awesome. I'm don't know about you, but I'm buzzing to see the decks that come out of this Ursidae tournament.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm excited. I'm playing against an Arceus Shaman. Uh, Dialga, it should be okay. They are running a lot of heal cards against the Charizard, so should be
Oof.
alright.
Yeah. Well, good
Yeah,
luck, and yeah,
awesome.
let me know on Discord how it goes later. Definitely.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to see how Charizard performs. All right,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
I'm going to hit that raid
Take
button. You all
take
take
care,
care.
everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye bye.